Hey yo, welcome back to Macrodosing. I'm filling in as the curator for our guy. Where are they going on a road trip, right?
Yeah, they're in LA.
They're in LA.
Oh, they're already there?
Yeah.
All right. So PFT and Billy doing weird shit on the road and they couldn't make this episode. They actually hit me on the way and asked me for because I grew up in Albuquerque, so they asked me for some food recommendations.
Did we tweet
did you see
that video that Arian sent?
No, I can though. They said they're gonna put it in the Pardon My Take vlog, but I can tweet it too.
It was funny. Arian just sent a
Yeah.
video to instead of typing out a bunch of shit, he just said it in a video about how white people can't handle spicy food. It was funny.
Did you see what PFT wrote about that?
Yeah.
Nah, what did he say?
So Billy and PFT have been blogging the entire trip every day, recaps. And PFT said, Arian told us to be careful and to get things not as spicy since we're not used to it. He was really dancing around the fact that he doesn't think white people can eat hot food, which is very racist of him. But if I had spent my entire life working around guys like Brock Osweiler, Matt Schaub, and Brandon Wheaton, I'd think white folks couldn't handle heat either.
I don't think he danced around it. I think he said it explicitly. He was like,
Probably.
white
I say
people,
y'all white.
yeah, white people don't like spicy food.
And I don't even think that's not racist. It's definitely
No, it's not.
Right? I think it's a pretty accurate summation of our culture and subcultures in America, right? I mean, Big T, what kind of spicy foods are you like accustomed to?
I like spicy shit. I don't like
what is spice to you?
like I don't know, like really hot wings, like stuff like that. Like
See, that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
like
I think
like you were describing it as like a different like feel, I guess. So I don't know what you were describing.
It's chili, right?
Right.
It's called hatch green chili, and they have red chili as well, right? And it's a different type of chili than you're used to. Like, so when you hear chili, you probably think of like in a bowl with meat and beans and shit like that, or maybe chili peppers, right? But it's just a different kind of feel, which it is a chili pepper, but it's a different type of feel. And so, from my experience, white folks usually, like culturally, unless they live around Mexicans or Dominicans or whatever the case may be, they don't really. That's not really their bag, right? That's not really they like. I don't think it's that controversial, but it's a really like distinct taste in the Southwest. So it's like what they call the four corners. It's New Mexico, Arizona, Denver, and Utah, and that kind of place. And not so much in Utah, but like those kind of areas where Native cultures, Native Americans lived in that style of food where it's like really smothered. Everything is like really smothered. It's very distinct in the Southwest. So
I
feel like they.
Oh, sorry, Coley. I saw this tweet right after you sent that video. It went viral. It says, I think the white people don't like spicy food thing mostly applies to middle to upper class whites because every redneck I know buys hot sauces with names like asshole, prolapser, and shit liquefier every time they go to Ace Hardware.
Could be, man. That could be the case. You know, class and race are really linked in this country. But yeah, man. Tap it in, man. What's going on with y'all? How's everything? How your weekend been? How was the national holiday, the Pro Bowl weekend?
Yeah, you've played in the Pro Bowl, right?
Yeah, I did.
Was like, I don't know if you saw any of the clips, but this was the most, like, they were just blowing the whistle dead if defenders were getting near guys. Like, no tackles were really made.
Yeah, there's just no point of the Pro Bowl. I've always said that when I was there. Maybe I told the story on this podcast, but this is a funny story though. So we had a Pro Bowl, and the three running backs for the AFC was me, Chris Johnson, and Jamal Charles. And I got drunk every day at the Pro. Again, you know what I'm saying? Like they like we went to like meetings and shit, right? And I'm just like, I'm not gonna pay attention to this shit, man. What? And so I'm in the huddle asking the quarterback, what I do on this play? Like couldn't care less about this shit. And so that's the majority of players' demeanor. And it's the game now, and we get blown out at halftime. It was like 35-7 or some shit like that. And I think I started, and I think Chris was second, and Jamal was third. And when Jamal went in, for some reason, I guess he don't have a first gear or a second, he was all full tilt. So when he went in the first half, he was like going hard, and me and CJ was like, "What the fuck is wrong with?" But whatever, man, I'm not doing that. And so we come in at halftime, and Bill Belichick was a coach, and Bill Belichick he goes, listen, man, I'm all for having a good time and hanging out with the families, but I'm not here to be the NFC's bitch. He said, "No, we go in there. We're gonna go. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do this." He said, "Jamal, you're starting." And me and Chris looked at each other like, "Take all the reps. Like I take them all, bro. I don't care." But it was just really funny because it's like nobody really gives a fuck about that shit, man. But they just need to make it like a skill challenge thing,
Right?
And infuse like the Pro Bowl with all pro, so it means a little bit more. But
yeah, I mean, like obviously, I think Mac Jones is solid, but like when I see him in the Pro Bowl, like it doesn't mean as much. Like I like NBA All-Star Game. There's only so many slots. Like even if they're not going full tilt, like football is the sport you can't really go 20% at. Like it just doesn't look even remotely the same. Baseball is the only one that like it's the same game. Like the pitcher's not going to throw 60. That's going to fuck up his arm. The hitters aren't going to like not swing. Like it's the only game that's still there's like 5 to 10 minutes of the NBA All-Star Game that's real basketball. The rest of it's Tracy McGrady throwing alley-oops off the backboard to himself, which is sick. I don't know why people ever complain about that. But football, yeah, I mean they used to do like 40-yard dashes of like all the corners and wide receivers. They used to do like Brett Favre would just throw it as far as he could. Like that's sick. People want to watch that. No one wants to watch. The only person I can remember in the last decade who did himself any favors in the Pro Bowl is Brandon Marshall. Brandon Marshall went out there and had him, I think he caught like 4 or 5 touchdowns or something and was immediately traded to a much better situation.
That's wild. I didn't even know that. That's hilarious.
Well, you were drunk on the sideline probably.
Most likely.
I always say that they have the Pro Bowl at the worst time. Like every other sport has it during their season, not before like the championship. It's always mid-season, and there's always like an incentive to play for, right? I don't know. I just don't think
you just like can't do that with football though.
Why not?
Yeah, it's just because it hurts, dog.
Yeah, all right.
Football's a very strategic sport as well, right? It's not just hike the ball and go put it over the line. There's so much involved. There's game planning. There's styles. There's, you know what I'm saying? There's different things that you have to account for when you're just playing pickup. You can't. That's why you don't play pickup football like that much because it's just so much involved other than, you know, cats in the park. But it's just not the same as pickup basketball. It will never be as popular because there's so much more involved. And it's just not appealing. And to have a game like that where cats took it seriously on a grand scale, the stakes are higher because you're not getting paid. I think everybody gets paid the same. If you win, you get like an extra 20K or something like that. You're not going to risk your career for like 20, 30K. You know what I'm saying? When millions potentially are on the line. So like pragmatically, it just doesn't really make any sense.
I hate the Pro Bowl because the Patriots had a running back right after Curtis Martin. His name was Robert Edwards, came out of Georgia. The best running back I've ever seen for the Patriots, like comfortably. And he made the Pro Bowl as a rookie, and he was playing flag football on the beach in Hawaii and tore up his knee. He played in the CFL after that. Like he was done. And it's just like if he had just been not as good as a rookie, he doesn't make that flight to Hawaii. He has a nice, long, prosperous career. And it's just like, what the fuck? I think that still like scares a lot of guys, like stuff like that.
Sure.
Arian, did you go to every Pro Bowl you got elected to?
Two of them I didn't go. And it's because I was having off-season surgeries.
Oh, but you never were just like, fuck it, I'm not going.
No, I would always go if I was like if I wasn't getting any surgeries, I would go. But like if you see me in any Pro Bowl, I don't think I sweat in any of them at all.
Did you score in any of them?
No, you have to try.
Watch yesterday's. You do not.
I know. I remember the case. Yes.
This Pro Bowl was not a good one for a fellow Tennessee running back. Also.
Who? Whatever.
Oh, you didn't see? Kamara got.
I didn't watch the Pro Bowl.
Well, Kamara got arrested
at the Pro Bowl.
Shortly thereafter.
Oh shit! What happened? Spill the tea.
I believe the charge was battery resulting in severe bodily harm. On February 5th at approximately 5:50 p.m., Las Vegas patrol officers were dispatched he got in a fight at a club, and I'm looking for. I think that was the name of the charge. Was battery resulting in substantial bodily harm.
Damn.
And so he
Reports are that it was
jail in
really
Las
bad.
Vegas.
That he beat up the guy really bad.
Tough to see. I may have to revise my Tennessee running back power rankings and put Arian at number 1.
Why would him beating somebody up having to do anything?
I don't know. There's a character clause in there.
Do you like him because he's a good guy, not because he's a baller?
No. I mean, I love watching him, but
yeah, like I'm sure his like Florida tight end rankings all time. Like I'm sure certain people slid down after certain things came out.
I don't know, man. I've always been a proponent of separate the art from the artist, but we don't even know what happened yet. You know what I mean?
No,
like,
we don't.
I bet you was some dude talking shit, and you can't do that, man. I think people forget that athletes is humans, and like we got egos too. And I mean, granted, it's not smart for him to do that shit, right? But I don't know, man. That shit don't matter to me. I think the bigger thing, I'll be like, man, dude gonna get sued now. I hate that for him. Like the arresting shit, fuck that shit. I don't care about that. But now he's about to get sued, and that's gonna cost him bread. Even if he wins it, like it'll be a settlement or all the lawyer fees, and this is gonna be I hate that shit.
Yeah,
Damn.
Coley, who was it in that group chat that said the NFL in Las Vegas not working well so far?
I mean, that's just like the correct sentiment. Like they've been there like 2 years. Like, is that it? And it's the third, fourth major
not
thing
good
to happen. Is it good?
No, I said
the
not
Pro
good.
Bowl was in Vegas.
Yeah.
That's not a good idea. Who did that? Who signed off on that? What the fuck?
That's crazy.
It like from like a marketing standpoint, it makes all the sense in the world. From
a consumer standpoint,
right? Yeah, exactly. But from like, if you really want to be like pragmatic about it, like it's a terrible idea to send that many NFL players to Vegas. Like to have a team there already doesn't look great.
Because crazy shit, I don't know if y'all ever been to Vegas, man, but Vegas is not big. It's just not like I think maybe like the allure of it is big, but like 4 or 5 blocks make up Vegas, dog.
Yeah, it's not big at all.
Just really, it's like barren land, and so you're literally just have like that much energy and that much money and that much potentially bad things that can happen. That's just not a good idea. And Vegas is, I'll give it a buck. It's really not that fun, man. And I could be an oddball out right there. It's just not that fun unless you just looking to have random sex or gamble.
You can't go for a while. You can't
I'll tell
go
you
for a
2
while.
big industries, Arian. That's very popular.
It just might be this is where I'm at, like in my life cycle, is like it's just not that appealing to me anymore to stand around, get faded, and chase tail. I was there. I ain't gonna front. I was there, but I just not anymore. But that's the other dynamic that bothers me though. Is like when people get like upset that athletes get arrested for shit like that. It's like, yo, you give any 20-some old kid millions of dollars, unlimited access to whatever you want, there's always going to be issues. And so it just doesn't make any sense for people to be surprised about shit like that. I don't know. That's just me though.
I sent this video in a group chat. You were mic'd up at the Pro Bowl practice. I just put the time slot in because there was a huddle and you look like the most nonchalant player of all time. And you look like you asked the quarterback 3 questions in the matter of 5 seconds where to be.
I'm gonna check it out. Oh, that was actually my first Pro Bowl, actually.
What are like the names of the plays in the Pro Bowl? Like how complicated do they get?
It depends on the coach. Like some coaches try to implement their system, and so they'll use their lingo. But other coaches will be like dive right, dive left, and screen right, screen left, shit like that.
I bet was Belichick bare bones? I feel like he wouldn't want to show anyone shit.
I can't remember. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing intricate. Like you're not gonna see any blitz package pickup.
Right.
I don't think you're allowed to blitz.
Not anymore. Yeah, you can't.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just nothing complicated. There's nothing, which is why it's pointless. It's literally pointless. Like there shouldn't be a Pro Bowl. Like I don't see the point of it. Just invite the players that are all pros to their family, all expense paid trip to Hawaii, like have some skills challenge stuff like that. But nobody's, I don't know. Nobody, I could be wrong, but I don't know.
Still gets a ton of viewers because it's
Really?
the only thing on.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like they have the timing worked out perfectly. Like it's the first weekend of the year, really, with no football. It's a society addicted to football. Even it not being real football, people still watch. People still bet a gamble on it. Like, it's just never going to go away. If people keep, like, people would have to stop watching it for it to go away.
Yeah, that shit sucks, man. Boring as fuck. If you're a praying man, put your prayers up for Alvin Kamara and his situation. I hope he don't get sued for that much money. That's all I care about. I think he'll be fine.
I'm going to wait for the whole story to come out before I put my prayers in one direction or the other.
I just hope he don't get sued, man. That's what I did. It's sad when see young black men lose their money for nonsense, man. What else is going on in current news, man? I feel like there's some.
The biggest story in the world right now is your close personal friend Joey Rogan.
My dog Joey Rogan, man. All right, look at Big T, man. All right.
I listened to that episode the other day.
Mine and his?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, my politics, I don't even remember what I said in there, but my politics have changed dramatically since I retired. But, which is why I don't feel like I'll ever be back on that pod. But, I don't know, man.
Before you go any further, I just want to say, y'all were actually both, like, he sounded much more liberal back then. Like, y'all were both, like, super making fun of, like, Trump voters. And, like, he sounded much more liberal than, which, like, I think he would still tell you he's a liberal, even though most people would say he's not.
Well, see, I think you really should dive into, if you care to, but dive into the distinct difference between liberal and progressive. Like, there's a very big difference. And so I don't think he would be a liberal. I think he's just like a mixed bag. And that's what we could actually do an episode on Joe Rogan, right? Because his influence is immense. He has such a big influence. Over 10 million viewers on his podcast, right? So he's a staple in American media. It just is what it is, and really global when you break down the numbers.
Now, I don't know about you, Big T, but when I'm pumping the iron, as me and you love to do, I hate stimulants and my pre-workout supplement. I know you used to be a big fan. The more stimulants, the better, is what you'd say. But we finally got you over to the right side. And we not only got you to the right side, we got you to the number one stimulant-free pre-workout supplement on the market today, and that's Concrete. Only microdosing creatine, that's one small scoop per 100 pounds of body weight. So for me, it would be several scoops of creatine. That's all you need.
Agreed.
That's it. You don't need a ton. Concrete is patented creatine. HCl is the favorite creatine of the elite informed athletes, which on this podcast, of course, is me, PFT, and Big T. Concrete patented creatine HCl is the only creatine women should use because of no water retention or bloating. Because men love bloating. I don't know if people know that, but the women cannot stand it. Creatine is a natural molecule made in your body, but your body only makes half of what it truly needs. The other half is supposed to come from your diet, but many American diets are low in creatine-rich foods, so many people need a creatine supplement. I know a lot of people right now are hitting the gyms, New Year's resolutions. If you still made it to February, congrats. Keep on going. If you've fallen off, it is not too late to get back on the horse. Start that new year off right with Concrete and amplify your workouts to burn off those extra holiday calories. Optimize your health and fitness, both body and mind. Build a better you with Concrete. If you register now at concrete.com/podcast, you can win a free membership to Planet Fitness for an entire year, plus a $500 Walmart Visa gift card. That's con-cret.com/podcast. They're not, listen, you thought there was only one winner of this? No. Multiple winners will be selected for this delightful prize. And Concrete is now available online and in stores at Walmart. Concrete is truly changing fitness and health.
And the interesting case of Joe is that I think he is a bit of a chameleon when it comes to things that he believes and that he talks about, for the most part. Well, I would say in certain instances, right? I'm not trying to pigeonhole him, but I think that he kind of adapts to whoever he's talking to, which is kind of the reason why he's in hot water right now to begin with. Like he's originally was the Spotify thing, right? People were trying to Neil who was it? Neil
Young.
Neil Young was trying to take his music off because Joe was spreading COVID misinformation. And then that, in my opinion, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but that led to people actually looking into his podcast, previous podcasts, and them finding all kind of, it was like,
well, Spotify employees raised hell
times.
when they made the deal, and they were like striking and shit. And Spotify, I believe at the time, removed a handful of episodes before they ever put his whole catalog on there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then
like
like
70 or
last,
something like that?
no, that was this week, but like a
this
year
week.
ago or so, they removed, it was less than that, but it was a handful. And then now they took off 70, and then that video came out.
I think it's up to 110 now.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I mean the
As
video.
he
So
said-
the video didn't just come out, which I found interesting. The video went viral last year before the Spotify deal, the week after he endorsed Bernie. So it shows you kind of how full circle this has become. It was at first right-wing people trying to say that Bernie endorsers are racist, and now it went re-viral this week to be like Joe Rogan and everyone who listens to him and every comedian who threw themselves on the sword for some reason are racist. So it's really just come full circle, pointing finger, like everyone's just pointing a finger. Everyone's a Spider-Man meme right now.
Yeah. Everybody hates him and everybody loves him. Well, I was unaware of all the times he threw about 70 M-bombs. I didn't know. I had no idea. Like, I don't really watch Joe like that. Y'all was a fan of him as a human. I knew his like work, and not his work, but like his stances on psychedelic drugs was kind of controversial at the time, but really eye-opening as well. And we kind of move with the media and the zeitgeist of the country, right? That's how it's spurred. That's how things get spurred. So that's why I say he's an important landmark in American media. And so when I seen all of that shit, I was like, it's just hard to defend, right? Especially the Planet of the Apes shit. It's just hard to like, bruh. Do I think Joe Rogan is racist? Yeah, but I think we look at racism, and I could already feel the 30,000 tweets that are going to come from this podcast listeners is everybody's racist. But I think when we think about racism, it's just this unnuanced black and white, you hate black people shit. And that's just not the case, right? That's not how any scholarly or any serious human being looks at racism. Racism affects and implements it sinks its teeth in this society in various different ways and on a spectrum. And I think if you just look at it like it's on a spectrum and not like it's either yes or no, then you can kind of start to, it could be more palatable for you to people understand. Like if you see something like that, it doesn't mean he's racist, right? He has prejudices, it's obvious, right? And those can be harmful in positions of power. And that's what people say when they say, racism is prejudice versus power. I don't necessarily agree with that definition, but I understand it. And so I guess the main talking point is the whole cancel thing. Like do we take him off? And I don't know about that. I'm on the fence about that. Like, I'd like to get Big T's thoughts on this matter, because I think we have opposite viewpoints in a lot of ways of covering the subject.
You mean in terms of like Spotify saying we're taking back your $100 million contract, we're taking you off completely?
Well, not necessarily the money. I'm talking about
right, but just like removing him from Spotify.
I mean, because that's what's getting called for in my
yeah. I guess I kind of have conflict. Like, Spotify's a private company. If they want to do that and they feel it's in the best interest of their business, like, go for it, I guess. But I don't think that's what they should do necessarily. Now, I guess it comes down to like how egregious you find what he's done and supposed to have done. I don't think if that video came out, if that was the only thing, I don't know. Do you think people are more upset about that or the COVID stuff?
I think it's a wide range. It depends.
I still think it's like the COVID thing. Like, I don't think if all that happens beforehand, like, I certainly think it's in the news and is a big deal. I don't think it's as big of a deal.
I mean, it came out a year ago. No one really cared.
Right.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with you. I think it, like I said, it's a wide variety. Like, I think because there's a lot of black folk who are I don't want to say anti, but like they're really against vaccine mandates and vaccines in general, right? They have a intrinsic distrust with the medical community, right? And rightfully so, right? Rightfully so, because this government has absolutely done abhorrent things to our community as test subject, right? Documented, right? And so that has reverberated throughout our lineage and through our generations. And so they have an active distrust for the medical community. So I don't think the COVID stuff would bother a lot of black folks. And I'm sure a lot of all the M-bombs wouldn't bother a lot of black folks, but there are some who would be like, fuck that dude. Like, they don't, it is. So it's like a wide variety of, to answer your question.
Yeah.
Most of my timeline, and I know that's a small portion of black people, so it's a small portion of their thoughts, but most of them were far more upset about the Planet of the Apes joke in quotation marks than him like simply using the word. And I do think there is a discussion, I don't think it's made for podcasts, but a discussion about the phrase the N-word is still just saying the word. Like, you're not saying it overtly, but what is a word if not communicate? Like, when I say that, you just think the word, you know what I'm saying. So it's like kind of, I think that's the school of thought he comes from. And I'm not defending him by any means. That's the school of thought he comes from versus saying that phrase versus saying the actual word. Saying it that many times on a very large recorded monster is probably not his best call to this to date. I don't really see too many people calling for him to be like canceled necessarily. Like I don't want to say biggest problem because there's a lot of problems there, but one of my larger problems is like Spotify had no problem with these episodes until this went viral again. Mm-hmm. They profited off those 70 episodes and would have kept doing so if no one made this video go re-viral. So it's like, was this their apology to just like quietly delete 110 episodes like in the middle of the night? Like, their president came out and made a statement saying that they are not a publisher. So they're pretty much just kind of like absolving themselves from all wrongdoing here. And it's just like, either they're admitting that they didn't listen to his entire catalog, which how could they? It was thousands and thousands of hours of conversations. But it's like, that is their responsibility. If they're going to push this guy, if they're going to build their platform around him as their guy, they're going to give him the $100 million and say, you can only get him here. That is now your company. Like, he is the face of Spotify. So them washing their hands of like any wrongdoing here is crazy to me.
Do you know what Rumble is?
Is that it's one of the new apps, right?
I have no idea. I've never heard of it, but apparently they have offered Joe Rogan $100 million to leave Spotify and come bring his show to them. I don't know what it is. I've never heard of it, but
say, nigga, all you want here, Joe.
Well, that's the part of the conversation I don't understand either. Like, he apologized, and whether or not you thought it was a good apology, like, he stood in front of a camera. He said, I did these things. They were wrong. He tried to explain himself, which never works. But he did that head on. And then every comedian in the world, and he's put a lot of people on, he's put a lot of money in people's pockets. So I get the need to want to say something, to speak up or do something. But like, people are just outright saying, I stand with Joe. Like, what does that mean? Like, you like what are you standing with? Like, what's the, like, I say the word all the time. Is that what you're saying? Like, I don't understand
it's just
what you're standing.
I think they're trying to say like, yo, he's not a racist. Cause like, no, even your man, Andrew Yang did the same shit. He's like, I know Joe, he's not a racist. He even said, he's the old adage. He said he congregates with bunches of black people or some shit like that. Right. And it's just like, bruh. I don't know. I think like this what, like, to your point earlier, Coley, like when people saying the N-word and it's like, it's just a word, and like everybody knows it's different, and the reasons as to why it's different. I think we just want to live in this black and white world, and it's just not the case. The history of that word is linked to our history in this country, and some black folks are okay with white folks saying it. Some are not, and that's okay. It's okay to have differing opinions, right? But you have to understand the ramifications of people not being okay with that.
Yeah.
Shit. And like I try not to be a hypocrite, right? Because there's definitely things in the past that I've said that could be deemed as disrespectful or misogynist or racist or homophobic in the past that I had to come to terms with because someone of my family member is now part of the LGBTQ community. And I just wasn't aware of any of this shit, right? And so a lot of the adage that I grew up with, it's just not cool to her, right? And so she checked me, and it took me a while to understand her vantage point. Because at first I was like, dog, you bugging. That's just I'm talking. But I didn't understand what that meant to her and that plight to fight for her, you know, expression, her self-expression, and how it's not looked upon. And it's just to fight those inner demons and those outer demons all the time. And so I don't know. I try to put myself in their shoes. And that's why for the life of me, I can't understand people just defending that. Because it's just like, what are you defending? Like you're defending their right to be an asshole. It's basically what it is, which you have a right to do that. Absolutely, though. But like, why would you want? I don't understand that shit. Why?
There are a lot of, especially comedians, they constantly view these things on attack on free speech and like I'm making jokes. And like part of making jokes, I'd argue the largest part is being funny. And I was listening to Tim Dillon talk about this, and he's a big Joe Rogan guy. He's like, he feels like he owes him a lot. And he was talking about it, and he was talking about the Planet of the Apes part specifically. And he was like, it was an off-color joke. I understand it's not as in vogue as it once was, but it was an off-color joke. Part of it is like, when you're doing racial humor, like I haven't seen anyone say you can't do racial humor. Like I've never seen anyone say that. The thing is, like, you know, it's a higher wire that you're walking when you're doing racial humor, and you better fucking land it. Now, I understand part of that is you don't know if a joke's funny until people laugh. But when they don't laugh, you just got to be like, I was wrong. I missed. Like, it's okay to miss. It's okay to be wrong, but you got to own it. If you don't own it, like, what's the difference between a non-funny racist joke and just a racist statement? If no one's laughing, then it's not funny. Then you're just kind of saying racist things. Like, that's the difference. And I feel like comedians should, I feel like, fight for the right for free speech, but they should like very much focus on like the funny part of it. Like, you can't just erase that. Not everyone's Richard Pryor. Not everyone's George Carlin. Not everyone's Dave Chappelle, who's not always 100% right with some of his thoughts and the way he goes about his jokes. Like, misses are misses. And it's like, yeah, I know it sucks to bomb. I know it sucks to not get one. But when you miss, like, don't just keep driving into it. Like, be like, all right, take the foot off the gas, move on to something else.
I'm curious as to Big T. So like when you see, have you seen the Joe Rogan compilation?
I have not watched the video. I just know of it.
I got you. So, but I'm sure you've seen M-Bomb compilations in the past, right? White folks or non.
What does that mean?
I mean, I'm sure because there's so many. There's no way you have not come across it. You're on the internet.
Sure.
Or unless I'm wrong, that could be an assertion. I'm sure. Am I wrong?
I mean, like, I'm trying to think of another specific example, but yeah, sure.
All right. So, but when you see it, right? Because I don't know what you feel about the word. I don't know what you feel about it, right? What is your initial reaction to something like that? Or even, you don't even have to hear it, right? You know Joe Rogan has a compilation video out there of his greatest hits. What is your reaction to that? Like, what are you thinking?
I mean, you shouldn't say that. I don't know, like, should it cost someone their livelihood? Maybe. I don't know. Like, I really don't know what my thoughts are on it other than, yeah, you shouldn't do that. If you, like, if you're okay with what you said, then okay. But, like, I think he would, maybe I'm projecting. I assume he would tell you he wishes he hadn't said that all those times. So, like, I really don't know.
I guess I'm just curious as to, like, your stance on Well, I guess you kind of answered it. Nah, because from what I'm hearing from you is you err on the side of like if it bothers somebody, I'll err on the side of I'm just not gonna say it.
Yeah, well,
That's what I
something
heard.
that arises to that level, sure. If that's different than saying, I don't know, like saying something that you know might piss someone off, but like isn't that bad. Like, who cares? But something that arises to that level that you know will, like, you know, that will upset a large swath of people. So it's not like he was blindsided by the fact that that caused people to get upset.
So you're not opposed to ruffling feathers, but there's
something
there's
that
there's levels, is what you're saying.
Yes,
there's
that
levels.
you know will flagrantly. I mean, like it is. I think the one word that you can't say. You just can't say. I would argue there's no other one.
There's nothing else on that level, and I know other groups who have had hatred towards them will say their word is on the same level. It's not.
You've heard the John Mulaney joke, right?
Yeah.
About
when you're comparing the badness of two words and you won't even say one of them,
that's the worst
that's
word.
the worst word.
Yeah. I was actually debating this dude. This was when I was on Twitch, debating folks. A dude named David Silverman. He was like the head of the atheist community or something like that at one point in time. And he once told me, because I was like,
you were debating him?
Yeah, I was debating him. He doesn't think systemic racism exists at all.
Oh, I thought you were. I was like, y'all sound like you're pretty much on the same page.
No. He's really a right winger trying to pretend to be left.
Interesting.
But yeah, so like it was on Twitter. Our spec became on Twitter, and he was arguing that systemic racism doesn't exist at all. And I was like, this is an easily debunkable point. But anyway, a lot of the points that he was making was like fucking racist, dog. Like it was wild. Like, and I was like, bro, and I didn't even call him a racist, right? I was like, bro, that just sounds racist, dog. I'm just saying that it sounds racist. And he goes, why do you do that? Why do you do that? He's like, that's worse than calling me the N-word. I'm like, what? I'm like, bro, the fact that you saying N-word, you know, it's not even close to the worst thing. Like, shut the fuck up. And it's just like people like to do that though. Like they like to minimize it, but it's just a real. I think it's not going to change in my lifetime, right? It's just one of those things that's going to continue having to be talked about until I think we come to a point, and the only remedy is like empathy. If you don't like how like somebody addresses you, this is why I like to liken it to the transgender issue. Because, you know, and it's not the same. I think they're very different topics, but it's similar in the aspect of it's a choice, right? If somebody identifies and they say, call me he or him or she or her, right? I don't understand that shit at all, right? I've listened, I try to understand it the best of my ability, but at the very end of the day, I want peace in my life. That's what it boils down to me. Is like, I just want peace. I just want people to be happy, and I want me to be happy. It does not hurt my feelings to call you whatever you want to be addressed by. Similar to Muhammad Ali changes his name from Cassius Clay, right? It was disrespectful in his eyes for you to call him Cassius, right? Just address a man or a woman however they want to be addressed, right? And if you avoid that, to me, it's erring on the side of diplomacy. There doesn't have to be this battleground for free speech, dog. All it is fucking, yo, I respect who you are and what you identify as a human being, and I want to move forward peacefully with my day. It's really what it comes down to, in my opinion. But people want to like battle on these moral high grounds, and it just gets messy, bro. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, when you brought up the transgender thing, like people would be like, people make fun of like pronouns and bios and stuff like that, and it's just like, I can't imagine caring. You know, that's what it boils down to for me. Like, if it like it matters to them, it doesn't have to matter to you at all.
Yeah.
Like, you can just keep living your life and not worrying about it. Like, if it doesn't affect you at all, why would you care? That's what like for that. For this, it's like, from a society, we very much understand like that's the one. You can't say that one. It is what it is. And you were talking about something earlier, like certain Black folks don't care. And this came up a couple years ago when Dave had made his video rapping along to an entire Nelly song that he put out, every word. And it was like trying to like certain people were saying like, of course he can say it, and other people, it was the same thing. Like some people cared, other people didn't. And it was just like where I grew up, like a very mixed neighborhood. No one would care if we were all singing the same song at all. No one would give a shit. We all knew each other's intentions. We all came from the same place, this, that, and the third. If you go to a different neighborhood where you don't know those people, you're probably going to get punched in the fucking throat. Best case scenario. Like not growing up with that understanding is, I think, a lot of people's, I don't want to say problem, but it's like a lack of life experience, where if you grew up in a community where everyone looked like you, like, yeah, of course you wouldn't fully understand the ramifications and like what that means. But it's like, if you grew up in a mixed neighborhood, like, yeah, most people didn't give a shit because you all live the same, not the same life. Obviously, everyone has different shit, but you're living in the same proximity. You're living in the same neighborhood. You're all on the same page. So it's like that lack of life experience. And I try and make this point every time too, like the internet is still very new in the spectrum of human history. Like it's the most we've been connected as a people ever. I feel like, and I'm white, so it's not really my place to say it, but a little more under, like there needs to be more understanding by all sides, not just one side, but they're like, people are learning for the first time a lot of things they weren't able to learn, whether it be segregation, whether it be where they grew up. Like this is the most a lot of people have interacted with different types of people. And to not give ourselves like a step to breathe and be like, oh, that was a mistake, now I know. But people are just so quick to say, I didn't do anything wrong, and defend themselves. Like, listen to people, get the shit out of your ears. Like someone said that sucks, like, okay, move on. Like learn, move on.
Oh, that's a great point. And it's the point when we're talking about transgender issues is what I always liken it to. It's like, because to people who have never been experienced with it, like myself, I'm like, where the fuck did this come from? Like, why is this a thing now? Like, that was always my point, but I'm like, it just makes so much sense. Like we now have a global network and community that's like, people felt like this forever, but they just didn't have anybody by them that they could identify with, that could empathize with their position, and to develop the lexicon to understand what they're going through, right? And to express it in different ways. And so like, this is just the beginnings of like communal, like exploration of ourselves and our culture. And so you're absolutely right. Like, that's why I'm not Joe Rogan's a racist. Fuck that. I'm not doing that. All I'm saying is like, yo, that's wild, right? I heard his explanation. I don't necessarily think it was a great explanation, but like, that's his journey. Do I think Joe Rogan thinks less of me because I'm black? No, I really don't. I honestly don't think that. You know, I sat across from the man. That's just my assertion of him as a human being. But do I feel like there's some residual, like, preconceived notions about black folk in general? Yeah. And I think that is a societal thing, which is what a lot of us argue. And so there's nuance involved when you deal with it. And that's the bigger part. And I always try to say, I've probably said 4 times already, but it's like, this is just not a black and white society, literally and figuratively. No. There's so much nuance involved in culture. And just like, I could say one thing or wear one thing in one neighborhood and it's not disrespectful, and go walk a block and it is disrespectful. And so you got to understand all of those different nuances. And I think moving forward with empathy, to me, is always the case. So I ain't trying to, you know what I mean?
There's also like, it's Joe Rogan. Like, and I don't say that in a disparaging way, but it's not like Joe Rogan PhD. Like, it's not Joe Rogan emeritus of like Harvard. Like, he's Joe Rogan. Like, he's been punched in the head a lot in his life. Like, he's a comedian. Like, he's a funny guy.
Man, I know some PhDs that say some stupid fucking shit.
Of course. I mean, there was a PhD at some school in some college, I think it was SUNY college, who was like advocating that pedophilia was like okay. Like, this was like a few weeks ago.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's like,
hold on. That's just what he said, when it's okay, like, to do, or like
hang on, I'm clicking on the article.
Because that's fucking wild.
It was a wild, it was a wild boy, very wild. Like, that was, and I mean, there were a lot of people. I know you and I agree with this point, but who was that? Was it the Columbia professor who was like advocating for heroin use?
Yeah,
or was it
just drug use in general?
Right.
At the 3-minute mark, Kirshner questions whether consent is even necessary, even comparing it to a kid, quote, consenting to do other things they don't want to do, like go to the doctor. He even states at the 5-minute 40-second mark that the notion of sex with a 1-year-old being wrong, quote, isn't obvious to me.
So yeah, we got some.
Does he? I gotta hear his reasoning.
Yeah, I haven't seen the video. Oh, here it is. I'll go watch it later. But it sounds yeah, that sounds pretty bad.
We can't watch it in real time, but fuck
sure.
me, bro. That shit.
It wasn't the best argument anyone's ever made.
The best argument I've heard for pedophilia, not for it, but
I was about to say.
no, just about it in general, right? Is that we need to, and I don't know if I 100% agree with this. I'm very mixed on this because this is a touchy topic, and let me get it out before I get lambasted. Is that we need to at least normalize the desire from people who are, right? Because, and then this is their argument. The argument is if you ostracize the desire, you're then outcasting them. They don't have any community. They don't have any place that they can go get this evil out and express how it's making them feel. Therefore, they'll just internalize it and possibly act on it. And they say that if they have like a group to like understand why it's bad, right? They have to acknowledge that it's bad first, right? But understand why it's bad, and you're taking an innocence away from somebody who's it's out of their control, like all of that. And then you have a community where you can like, right? But then the opposing argument is you're getting them all together and they can plot shit, right? Like, so I understand. This is why I'm not 100% in agreement with it.
I get what you're saying and what that argument's saying, but it's like, what, like,
I
and I'm
do
sure
not,
this is where Big T's
to be
going
honest
too. Like,
with
are
you.
we going, like,
Well,
where do you draw the line with that? Like, are we going to get murderers together? Like, because those are urges that some people can't control.
Yeah, no,
too.
if the argument is that people who want to have sex with children are being outcast, I'm down with that. I think we should outcast them for sure.
Well, see, okay, and I think the broader point is not pedophiles being able to congregate, right? I think the broader point is if you have a desire and you know it's wrong, should there not be any recourse to help you in that process? Right. Just like an alcoholic, they know they're drinking themselves to death. People smoking cigarettes, they know they're smoking themselves to death, but we don't demonize those acts in a way that says it's immoral, right? And so the broader point isn't, is pedophilia okay or is it not? The broader point is they really have no recourse other than some kind of self reflection that obviously isn't there in the first place, or else they wouldn't have that desire. So that's like I said, I always try to lead with empathy, right? What if I was born with that desire? I do not have that desire. What if I was born with that desire? I don't have anywhere to go. I don't have nobody to talk to. Imagine your best man's in the world going up to you talking about some dog. I just been thinking about this 5-year-old all day. You might get punched in the face, right? It's wild. And so I'm not. Go ahead, bro. I don't want to.
I was gonna say part of the problem.
I'm not advocating for pedophilia.
Yeah, how much of this are we cutting?
Leave the shit all out.
Part of the problem, though, isn't that there's nowhere for them to go, because that was true 20 years ago before we all had the internet. Now they do have places to go, and they're the worst places imaginable. They're not watched by anyone. They're feeding each other videos and stuff. Like, it's only making it worse. So to your point, yeah, maybe it being more in the open could quell that, because right now they're just sitting in their houses, going in chat rooms when that was a thing. Like, it's only getting worse because they are just in their own head and in their own computer.
Yeah.
You can go like the internet, I feel like we think is a much smaller place than it is. It's fucking unlimited. Like, there is everywhere you can go, whether you want to or not. Like, so yeah, I definitely, I agree with the sentiment. I don't know how you would pull it off is more.
I haven't thought deep enough about it to have like, first we need to do this. And I haven't thought that deep into it. But what I do know is people with desires, for the most part, they're uncontrollable. Like, it's you're a product of your environment and your genes, right? That is basic evolution. And so if you have desires that are deemed immoral by a society, does that society care enough about the cohesiveness of the society and the well-being of the community to address it in a way that isn't ostracizing them? Because it's a real thing. I'm like, imagine the thought experiment, Big T. Imagine there is a man that has desires to be sexually attracted to a child, right? But he knows it's abhorrent, right? He knows it. but he never goes through with it in his entire life. But his entire life, he feels ostracized. Do you feel any kind of moral obligation as a society to help ease that? To help give him a community, to help him ease that? Because his whole life.
Give him a community.
So an example would be a lot of people who are alcoholics shame themselves, right? It's a lot of self-shame, and that aids in their self-harm. It's just like a residual cycle. When a lot of the reasons why people are alcoholics were out of their control. They grew up with it. It's genetic. The environment, a lot of the things are out of their control. Yes, they make the choice to do it, but a lot of the things are influences out of their control. And so it's unlearning that this is all my fault, taking responsibility for your actions, but unlearning that it's all your fault. I mean, this is how people get over being alcoholic, right? Unlearning that it's all my fault and learning that you were a product of your environment, but you made some choices to get here. And so we have recourse for them in order to heal themselves emotionally. I'm saying, do you feel like there's no obligation for a society for pedophiles? And I'm not saying I necessarily do. I'm just curious as your thought on it. Because I'm kind of split on this.
I don't know. I mean, like, could that person not go to a therapist, like, already? Like, I don't. I guess.
But going to therapy is a big hurdle for a lot of people too, because again, that's mostly one-on-one. But Alcoholics Anonymous is like another group.
Right.
So
that's what I'm saying, though. Like, does there need to be an organization to get people who want to have sex with children together and talk about it? I don't think so. No.
Yeah. No, I
like that person.
I don't know, bro.
I think can go, to someone one-on-one and maybe talk about it. I don't even know. Like, can you do that? Like,
yeah,
that's what I'm saying. I don't know. I don't
know that a therapist could, like, a therapist can't turn you in, can they?
I think.
If you haven't done anything,
right? If you're admitting to wanting to do a terrible thing, I don't think so. I think if you go into a therapist and say, like, hey, I just killed someone, like, I think they're obligated to report that to someone.
Or no, I think child harm as well. Like, if you say you have done something, they have to turn
right. But I wouldn't know about that.
Yeah, and I mean, think about the therapist come in. There's somebody comes in and says, I'm thinking about having. That therapist thinking you probably already have, right?
And now what does that person do? And
that's what I'm saying. And so that's why I think it's just like, it's a wild topic, right? It takes a lot. I think we like to avoid it as a society, but we don't really understand how common it is and how long it's been around. For millennia, that we have dealt with child pedophilia, or just pedophilia.
I was going to say, when did we slap the title on it, though?
I don't even.
I mean, when did it become a negative? Because King were like 12 years old not that long ago.
Right. There's I don't know when I guess I could look this up, but the DSM-5 is like a book of like mental disorders and disabilities and stuff like that. And I think that is classified as one, if I'm not mistaken.
I would imagine so.
Hold on, let me look it up real quick.
Well, while you're doing that, Arian, I've been doing a little look into this guy who said the thing about not knowing if sex with 1-year-olds is wrong. He also said in a 2003 paper in the Journal of Social Philosophy, let me read you this abstract. The slavery contract is not a rights violation, since the right not to be enslaved and the right not to give out a benefit are waivable, and the conjunction of their voluntary waiver is not itself a rights violation.
What does my guy has his PhD in?
He may not be a PhD.
Man, I would question that institution.
I feel like most college professors are, though.
Stephen Kirshner. He's doctor. He's Dr. Stephen Kirshner.
Damn.
They give that. I mean, Shaq's a doctor. Like, they give that title out to everyone.
So it is actually, so the DSM-5 started by like a bunch of psychiatrics, the American Psychiatric. This isn't a society. I clicked off the page, but in 1952 is when it started, where they started classifying mental diseases and disorders, and pedophilic disorder. And it's interesting that they classify it as 13 years or younger. But But yeah,
13's the cutoff?
it is in the DSM-5 though.
I'm sorry. I just got to read the title of some of the books this guy has written. Total Collapse: The Case Against Morality and Responsibility. Sounds like an interesting read. Here's a good one. Abortion, Hell, and Shooting Abortion Doctors. Does the pro-life worldview make sense? He has written 100 articles and book chapters on such diverse topics as abortion, adult child sex, hell, pornography, punishment, sexual fantasies, slavery, and torture. Who the fuck? This guy, this is why Coley and I had an argument a couple weeks ago. It was not on the show. This
It was
is
a discussion.
Yeah. I feel like it was a very good discussion, honestly. I don't think, like, this guy's in academia. He's teaching moldable minds. This is sickening.
It's a problem. I don't know. Are you going to say he's left?
Well, I mean.
Yeah. Shooting. Does the pro-life worldview make sense? And yes, I would say that.
It sounds like he's anti it.
Yeah, no, he's a pro-life. If he's trying to shoot abortion doctors, he's not pro-choice.
No. The title of the book is Abortion, Hell, and Shooting Abortion Doctors. Does the pro-life worldview make sense? I feel like he is anti doing those things.
I don't think he is.
I don't. We haven't read that book.
No, we haven't. And based on all of his other thoughts,
I will not be reading that book. But I think. Well, I mean, to be in academia, isn't this right? It's like you study a certain thing, and you get credibility and understanding that certain thing, right? But that doesn't mean you're the arbiter of what is right and what is wrong in all other things. And so, and even within people's fields, there's wiggle room for debate, right? This is why you have peer review. It's a very arduous process, and so things can go right or left or whatever the case may be. But it's the best system that we have, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't know what to ascribe his politics to. I'm sure he probably has invented his own, but this is not a person. Like, I've never heard like a super left-wing teacher be like, well, slavery was good. Like, I don't know that that's a trait I would ascribe to them.
I don't even know what to think about this guy. By the way, one of his research interests is applied ethics. That's pretty funny.
Yeah, when he does not apply them.
I would like to listen to it more, because people like that fascinate me. Like, I'd like to think there's more to it than just the surface level, because I want to hear him. I definitely would.
I think I'm all set. I think I've heard enough. Get the hook, get this guy off stage.
I don't know. I guess I'm just interested in pushing the mold of ideas, right? And I can very easily discern if this dude is like a fucking quack or not. But like, I just like to hear different. That's why I spent so much time on YouTube listening to conspiracy theories, because I just like to hear different ideas. It just molds the brain, pushes outward. Sometimes
I would like to see the papers he's given like F's to. Yeah, like, I'm sure those papers were perfectly fine. He was just like, no, F, you're out of here.
That's comedy, man. So yeah,
that's a weird guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, Joe Rogan. I think you, Arian, are one of the few people who have like a non-binary view of racism.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that's a widely accepted, and I'm not saying it should or shouldn't be, but I don't know that that's like how most people view it. I do feel like most people, and I don't know that I think I'm more on your side, like, but I also think it's funny to say someone's like if you're looking at like a hot sauce scale, they're just like mild racist. Like, I think that's also funny to view.
Well, that's the thing though. I think racism, when you look at, right, it's defined as, right, Webster's definition is something along the lines of, it's a superiority complex. You think another race is inferior because of that race, right? Because of that race. And that is, even though it's a very black and white definition, that carries with it a lot of gray area, because there's a lot of correlations people draw. Like a simple one is, it got promulgated on the internet a while back, but it's the racing IQ, right? YouTube is big on this, and when I say YouTube, I think YouTube is a majority right leaning platform.
YouTube?
Oh yeah,
the organization that's
it's fan base. It's fan base.
They
I
censor
don't agree with
Alex
that
Jones.
The organization that demonetizes any video that
You talking about the people?
They demonetize. They demonetize everything. I was talking about the fan base of YouTube.
Yeah,
like,
I understand. I
No, I
still
agree with that.
at
I
it.
agree with Arian on that. But the
go look
organization
at a Joe
YouTube.
Rogan video. Yeah, I mean, I don't know their politics. I'm talking about
Yeah.
the fan base.
Okay.
Right?
Okay, that is
like
different, but-
so if you go like on Twitch, right, I would say that fan base is majority left leaning, right? Like, and it's a mixed bag, but I would say just majority, right? And so, race and IQ is a huge one, right? And it got promulgated probably a good like 5-7 years ago is when like it really started getting big, and a lot of these like right-wing pundits started having people on who are, they're called race realists, right? And what they say is, I think it's Asians and then Ashkenazi Jews are like the highest IQs on average, and then everybody else falls underneath that. But what they say is just genetically, well, I don't even think they make the claim genetically, but they just say black folks have a lower IQ than white folks. Like, and that's just what it is, right? And when you deal with like race in America, like this is the kind of stuff that you have to combat. And this is why when I look at racism, I don't look at it like it's just you are or you ain't, because there's people that may even believe that, but don't necessarily have any ill intent, but they just like, this is what the data said. And right. I feel bad. I even heard people say this, like, this is what the data says. And I just feel so bad because this is just what it is, right? That's a racist thought. And you haven't given any credence to the opposing view or the socioeconomic situations that is the reasons as to why that's unfolding, right? I'm sure if anybody gets this far on the podcast and they listen to this, I'm sure there'll be some comments that be like, no, but it is true. I guarantee you on our podcast, I guarantee it, because this is a really prevailing thought in those circles. But what I've understood is over the years, a lot of racism is very covert, and a lot of people don't even understand what they're doing can be racist. It's I mean, there's books written about this, like racism without race. It's just a bunch of reasons as to why, and we can get into the weeds of this, but having a nuanced opinion on race is necessary. And this is why I try to listen to people. And because everybody's experience is different. I have a very unique experience in America because I'm Mick, right? There's definitely colorism I've experienced amongst black folks, right? And there's definitely racism I've experienced with non-black folks. And that is an entirely different argument, but they're very two real things that I had to deal with growing up. And it's a lot of people's different experiences. So you have to come out with an open mind and not act like you know everything. And that's what I try to do. I try to listen to people all the time, dog. Like, I don't know. That's where my nuanced opinion comes from. It's not from this like place of I know everything. Like, I know I get that criticism a lot, but it's just from my experience of listening. Like, I just listen to people a lot. And so I don't know. The Joe Rogan thing is interesting, right? But a good segue into this, I was actually on that dude podcast. And I asked him a question as why he switched, because he used to be a super moon landing denier, right? He was like really ardent, and we're gonna jump into the title of this podcast, which is the moon landing. But he gave a lot of interesting facts, right? And so just getting back into what I kind of wanted to do with this podcast was kind of give a timeline of the events leading up to it, and kind of look at the big reasons as to why people think it didn't happen.
I mean, there's so many things in this country, Big T, that are standard. Like, you're wearing a Waffle House inspired hoodie right now. Like, you talk about the foundation, the very fabric of what we strive to be as an American country. That's the consistency of a nice Waffle House. What isn't consistent at all, as what you were telling me earlier, is the markets. They've been so fucking trippy the past couple of months. That's
true. Volatile. A lot of inflation going on. People are talking about the inflation. It's almost like they took a hit of whatever Elon Musk has been smoking. which just means there's probably never a better time to diversify your portfolio and reevaluate the risk you've got going on.
That's
and
right.
You know how some of the richest people on earth allocate 10 to 30% of their wealth, Coley?
How?
Blue chip art. Blue chip art. But while blue chip used to largely be inaccessible for most investors, Masterworks is changing all that. Masterworks is the first and only startup allowing everyone to invest in paintings by iconic artists like Picasso, Banksy, and Basquiat without spending millions. Join the art investing community today and get priority access to their latest offerings at masterworks.art/macro. That's masterworks.art/macro. See important disclaimers at masterworks.io/disclaimers.
Right? Because I think all of us here, don't let me speak for you, but I think all of us here agreed that we went to the moon.
Only very recently have I agreed with that.
Really?
Yeah.
I would like
And I can still see the side that we didn't.
That's interesting. That's interesting. All right. Well, let me just kind of set the scene a little bit, right? Which is wild, because I think this kind of gives credence to a lot of moon denying facts. Is that one, the government definitely lied about some things, but two, the origins of NASA are fucking insane. It's really wild. All right, so just going through some of the facts, right? So in 1958, the U.S. launched satellite Explorer 1, designed by the U.S. Army under the direction of rocket scientist Wernher von Braun. Okay, and later Dwight Eisenhower, he signed a public order creating NASA, a federal agency dedicated to the space program. Right. So, but who was Wernher von Braun? Wernher von Braun was a German scientist who was stationed in a lot of different places, but was a part of something called Operation Paperclip, right? And so Operation Paperclip was basically, after the war, we saw that. So this is a clip that I found. So trailing behind Allied combat troops, groups such as the Combined Intelligence Objectives Subcommittee, they began confiscating war-related documents and materials, interrogating scientists as German research facilities were seized by Allied forces. One enlightening discovery recovered from a toilet at Bonn University was the Ossenberg list, a catalog of scientists and engineers that had been put to work for the Third Reich, which was Hitler's regime. And so this is well documented. This is all really happened. So we took around like 1,600 German scientists and imported them into the U.S. And Wernher von Braun was a rocket scientist that actually was one of the catalysts of starting NASA, which is wild. Another one, just like on a side note, there's a dude named Walter Schrieber. He started a vaccine program in Germany to protect Nazi soldiers for biological warfare. And he ended up being one of the heads of the U.S. Air Force, and he was stationed in Texas as well. And so a lot of people like to say, was he a Nazi? Was he not really a Nazi? There's like testimony that people have accumulated over the years of people who were in those concentration camps in Auschwitz, and that was one of them. And one of them was saying he had a bad reputation for brutality and had originated the idea of using concentration camp prisoners as slave laborers in the rocket program. And so a lot of the origins of his rocket designs and engineering is rooted in slave labor from Nazi concentration camp. When I first figured it or read this shit, it like blew my mind, because I heard the rumblings of it, but it was like, to understand like one of our fundamental research facilities as Americans in NASA was started by Nazis, like real Nazis, dog. Like not like, you know what I'm saying, cats protesting outside Black Lives Matter, like real fucking Nazis, dog. Like actually, like there's testimony of these cats being him suggesting, or at least being a cohort in, I'm not cohort, an assailant in hanging Jews outside of the facility, like shit like that, like crazy shit, man. And we did this with over 1,600 scientists. And that brings up an entirely different point, like the efficacy of national security over morality. Like a lot of these cats never faced any consequences for their partaking in any of this shit.
Yeah, I mean, so the guy who founded Barstool is Jewish, Dave Portnoy. He wore Hugo Boss, like he thought that was top tier, up until a few years ago when he found out Hugo Boss made all of the Nazis' uniforms and was like handsomely profited off of Hitler and everything he had going on over there. Like it's still out. Like Nazi people who profited off of everything that was going on in the 30s and 40s are still profiting. Like it's insane.
Yeah, that's wild. I didn't really know how much it was involved with our economy, but it was just such a big. It was a worldwide event. So,
oh yeah.
So yeah, I mean that's kind of the groundwork of the origins of what eventually became the space race, and as to why we went to the moon in the first place. So in the late 1950s, early 60s, the United States was engaged in a Cold War as geopolitical rivalry with the Soviet Union. On October 4th, 1957, the Soviet Union launched Sputnik 1. It was the first satellite that any humans have, which is like a huge accomplishment. And this honestly started the fears and the rumblings, what we call Cold War propaganda. It's the reason why Big T hates communists so much, right? It's the
More
Cold
than
War
that,
propaganda.
but yeah.
This is where it stems from.
Yeah,
whether or not.
Yeah. The accuracy of it is yet to be determined, but it stems from a lot of this. It stems from a lot of Cold War propaganda and us feeling inferior to their technological and their scientific advancement.
Before we go any further,
Go ahead.
I do understand that we were in a thing with Russia. We wanted to beat them. We didn't want them to look like, cooler than us, smarter than us, whatever. Going to the moon. Who gives a shit? Like what was the point?
Right. So
it was just a pissing contest. Like,
For sure.
yeah,
like
it's a Cold War.
Everybody talks about the moon landing, and it was an unbelievable technical achievement and marvel, whatever. I really don't give a shit, And maybe you had to be there, I guess. Maybe you had to be around in the 60s.
That's a hot thing.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't.
I truly could not give less of a shit about landing.
Think about how much entertainment you have in your pocket right now. Like, landing on the moon in '69 was fucking a big deal.
Yeah, no, awesome. It's incredible. The people who were part of that, I can't even imagine the engineering marvels that went into it. Still don't care.
What would you care? Like, does Mars interest you?
Nope, not even a little bit.
All right. So you just don't care about space.
No, I've got some questions about space.
Hold on, pause that thought, because I'm definitely about to hit. I want to dig into that bag, but I think this can interest you. The reason why we decided to go ahead with it and try to beat them was because them launching Sputnik developed a lot of rumblings of national security. Well, they can develop nukes, right? We need to show our advancement as well, because our citizens are losing faith in our ability and our military, because they're doing something that is deemed as like, holy shit, right? So it was more optics of posturing.
Yeah, I totally understand why it was a big deal at the time.
Oh, you would have been the biggest moon guy.
Probably so. Yeah, I would. Let's get to the fucking moon. But like
when Billy was freaking out like a month or two ago because China debuted that really low flying supercraft.
Can you imagine Billy in 1969? Oh, he would have been losing it.
He would have been like, send me, strap me to the back of it. I'm out of here. I'll be up in the moon. I'll fight the moon people.
So what are your questions about space?
I've got several. I think
toss them my way.
I believe I've said this on the show before and people got mad at me. I think we're being sold a bill of goods on space. I think there's a lot of chicanery going on. That's just what I think.
Please keep going.
I think about like Elon Musk, like who's
no. Like very generally accepted things about space. I'm just like, I'd like to see a little more there.
I'm keep going, man.
I've said it on the show before. Like, you know, when we're talking about hundreds of quintillions of miles away, we know there's this thing. No, you don't. No, you don't. You're lying. And that's fine. That's fine. Listen, we have a whole industry devoted to it. They need funding. Go for it. That's great. We've got, you know.
Wait, so you don't think space is as big as advertised?
I think there's a lot of things going on. I think there's some questions I have about space.
Let me ask you this. Do you think space is real?
Yes.
Okay, we've got that groundwork to build off of.
For sure. For sure.
What, like, because I've had to, like, my father was a huge space guy, like big time space guy. And he would say things like, on this planet, like several solar systems, galaxies away, we know it has this base. And I'd be like, what in the fuck are you talking about? Like, no, we don't know that. And he would talk about, like, you could tell by the light basing it off of it. And while I understand his point, and they have a lot of data to back that up, if that were true, why are we unsure what's on Mars, which is objectively much closer?
It's a great point, Coley. And they're like, this star is 432 billion times bigger than the sun. No, it isn't. It isn't. I'm sorry. You can show me whatever math you've done to say that that's true. It's not true. It's not true. So
listen, you joking, right? You don't really believe this shit.
Oh, I absolutely believe it.
Hold on. Okay, so let's deal with the first one and Coley's point. So do you agree or not agree that we know the speed of light?
Yeah,
I agree with that.
Okay. Do we know that it's like a fixed thing?
Yes.
Like, no matter how fast you're traveling, the speed of light remains the same.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we know that? Will we agree on what they call the Doppler effect? Right. The Doppler effect is if something is going, like if you're in a car, right? If you're in a car and it's coming towards you, it goes, and as it's going away, it goes, right? We agree with that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Sound is just the wave, right? Light is a wave as well, right? So they act in very similar ways. When things are coming towards us, it emits a certain light, and when things are going away from us, it emits a certain light, and it's red and blue, right? And I forget which one is forward and back. But there are various different ways to measure how far something is, and they use candlesticks, right? What they call candlesticks, which are like metrics and they're supernovas.
Units of measurement.
Yeah, units of measurement. There you go. And supernovas as to how to triangulate how far something is away. And there's a lot of math involved, right? There's a lot of.
I don't. My qualms aren't with the distance stuff. My qualms are, he would say we knew what elements are on certain planets in other galaxies, and it's like, I don't completely disagree with that. Like, I'm sure they have things that they're sure of, but they act like they know. The way he was at least passing it off was just like they know everything that's on everything, and it's like, I know they don't.
No, they do, and this is how they know, right? Because stars and planets, they emit light. Planets reflect light, right? Well, within that light, what they found, and there's this is like, when you research the shit, it's like a beautiful story, right, as to how they figured it out. But they have something called spectral lines. Have you guys heard of these?
Yes.
So spectral lines are, for people that don't know, inside of the signature of the light that is coming to us, there are these dark black, like almost barcode, right?
Yeah, like segmentations, kind of.
Yes, and so each element has a certain fingerprint within the light, and so we know what the signature for salt is. We know what the signature for oxygen is. We know what the signature for hydrogen is, right? And it's why we can tell what different planets are made of, what the sun is made out of, what different stars are made out of. And this is why Carl Sagan made that beautiful quote back in the 70s or 60s when he said, we're all made of stardust, because we figured out that everything, all the elements in the universe is actually what we're comprised of. All of the same carbon, all of those same things are literally what the stars are made out of. We're made out of literally star dust. It's a beautiful story. So, like, we actually 100%, I want to say 100%. You don't ever want to deal in absolutes with science, but
right.
we have a very good gauge on what elements are coming from each planet.
I would say we have a good base of what elements had been on that planet at a time, not necessarily that they are there currently.
Sure, and that also depends on. So when you're looking at starlight, what they would like to say, when you're looking at starlight, you're looking at you're traveling through time, like it's time travel, because it takes time, a long time, for that starlight to reach us. And so it may be different now, but as we're perceiving it, that's what is currently the spectral lining.
Right. Yeah.
Not
That I was
any of
more
that shit
speaking.
Oh, all
I was
that
more
is
speaking-
fantastic. It's great. I've still got. There's some numbers thrown out that I would just like some more. Show your work. You know, I just want to see. I just want to see
You
how
would be able to understand the work.
No, absolutely not. But when they're
Right,
like,
that's the problem. Like,
when
you-
this thing
they-
is
of course they show the
134
work.
nonillion kilometers away, I just no, it's not. No, it's not. It's not. That's great that you
Okay.
did that.
Would you at least admit that you're irrational about it?
Yeah, for
Okay,
sure. And
I'm cool with that. I'm cool with that.
Yes,
Okay.
I just don't. It's more so I don't understand the vastness,
It's hard to grasp.
and
Yeah.
I don't believe it.
No, it's crazy when you think about how big it is, and you can't. We could pretend to conceptualize it, but it's just something we cannot experience.
And before any
because it's
any
so fucking
dumbass tweets me, yes, I am kind of kidding, but like I do, like it's like impossible to comprehend.
Right. Is it one of those things you don't even pay attention to because it's impossible to comprehend?
Yes, yeah.
I think that's fair. I think most of us, I mean, we talk about Men in Black a lot on this show, but like watching that movie when I was 9, whenever that movie came out, it was just like, yeah, I'll never understand even this fictional summation of what's going on. It's too much for me to ever pretend to know what's happening out there.
Yeah,
It's
I
just
agree.
it's stuff that I have, and I'm obviously not an expert, right? But I've just spent years and years like really researching this. I'm talking to like really reading papers on this shit, like trying to understand the math on it. I've done a lot of research on it because it keeps me up at night. Like it really keeps me up at night.
That's
I'm
why
not
I
even-
don't do more research.
I
'cause
think
it would keep me
no.
up.
I think
Yeah,
if everyone, I think it should keep people up at night.
Definitely.
It's nonsense. It's craziness. That's what I'm saying. It makes no sense. It's
Well, that's the
Let me
beautiful
ask
thing
you
about
this, let me-
science, though, bro. It's so counterintuitive. It doesn't make sense until you understand the basics of shit. And
no, but
then
like if you understand it, it
sense.
should make less sense. Does that make sense? What I just said?
Yeah.
if you understand it, it should make less sense.
Like the more you know about it, the more you should be like, how the fuck is this a thing?
Yeah, that's accurate.
Yeah.
Does space, and I'm not saying this to troll, I mean this as genuinely as possible. Does the very concept of space and everything you do know about it conflict with your beliefs religiously?
No.
So I know they do
No.
for me.
It
No,
definitely does.
the only thing I said was when we talked about aliens, I said if there were proven to be intelligent beings somewhere else, I think that would conflict with Christianity. And then I got into a thing with somebody on Twitter who was like, no, it wouldn't. And I was like, well, yeah, it would.
I think it could prove it as well.
For me, in my personal belief, that would
would rock you.
conflict with the Bible to me.
That would rock you.
Yeah, for sure.
So when you say alien life, are you talking about like microbes?
No.
or-
If
No,
there were
like us, but on a different planet.
right, yeah.
Gotcha.
But in terms of like, no, like God created the heavens and the earth, and that, like, I'm just saying in terms of space, like I don't understand it, I don't get it. That's great that some people wanna choose to do that as like a career. That's fantastic. I have questions on some of your claims. That's all I'm saying.
So it does conflict with, like, it depends on how you interpret the Bible, honestly. If you interpret it like with any kind of literal interpretation, then those two things, astrophysics and the Bible, cannot coincide.
Like, what about it?
The age of the earth, the age of the universe, the age of everything.
I don't think there's anything concretely in the Bible that says that says the earth was made 8,000 years ago.
No, but there are prevailing Christian thoughts of how old the
Yeah,
Earth is.
I think that's become a Christian, like, Christian science, if you want to use that term, like, thing. But I think it's perfectly reasonable to believe the earth was made however many billion years ago and be a Christian. I don't think that's
So when you
crazy.
follow the lineage of the ages in the Bible, this is not controversial at all. But it's like I think 6 to 8 thousand years old.
7 or 8, something like
Yeah, and so that directly conflicts with what we see in reality.
I mean, you could say that. I don't know. I haven't looked into that enough. I don't have a strong opinion on that, but
They throw numbers around pretty loosely in the Bible. Like how old was Abraham? Like 100 and something years old.
oh, more than
And
that.
that's
That's
also
what I mean.
conflicts
Like
with a
they
lot of-
just use numbers to say like it was big. Like they didn't like they weren't. You're
But
right.
if you follow
People who are reading it
their-
literally, yeah, they would have a connection.
175.
Right. Like we know that he was not 170 because no one is.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is there's a lot of that in the Bible. There's a lot of, and
No
specifically
doubt.
when we're talking about like the origins of the universe, and you know what convinced me? Like what would have convinced me if there was some shit in the Bible that was prophetic in like a real way, not like a Nostradamus prophecy, but like something that was prophetic of like one day you're gonna discover, boom, on this date, boom, what or whatever the case may be. I'm sure he created the earth. He can find a very savvy way of framing it. But like all the prophecies are like real, like womp womp. You know what I mean? Like one day there's gonna be a war. Like yeah, all right, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like it's
But would that not completely like then there? I mean, anybody with half a brain would believe in God, and then there would be no like that.
Yeah, remove the faith.
That
part of it.
requires no faith.
well, that's what I'm saying. Is he not? It says the devil's the author of confusion, not him. Why he out here trying to confuse me? Just give me the book in a way that, and why do a book? You know what I mean? Bury a fucking iPhone, fam, and say, dig this up at this plot at this date. This gonna blow your mind. But nah,
But
he puts it in a book. Like, come on, G.
Wouldn't the
This is bad. This is
Like-
bad.
we know like water is foreign to this planet, so like wouldn't
Yeah.
that kind of knock out the whole God thing?
Wait, say that again.
If you created the
think-
heavens and the earth, like that would I would believe that to include water. I don't think he'd give us a waterless planet if that was his goal. So like the fact that it came from space and is not of this planet, it is foreign. It came from an asteroid. Why wouldn't that kind of immediately knock out the? Like, wouldn't that be the original conflict of believing in both?
I don't know. I personally believe that science is able to explain things which have happened. I don't find science and the Bible to be directly contradictory. I think science is the Big Bang Theory. I believe I've said this on the show before. The Big Bang sounds to me like exactly what would happen if God uttered the phrase, "Let there be light." I feel like that is what would happen. An explosion out of nothingness of the universe.
Wasn't an explosion.
Well, you know what I'm saying.
I don't. I'm sure I don't.
Okay, what was it then?
It
A
was
burst of out of nothing, right?
It wasn't necessarily a burst. It was just like a gradual forming of gases and Big Bang is not my. But
This is where
they always say it wasn't a boom.
Okay,
That's
sure,
what they
but
always-
however you want to frame it, that sounds to me like a logical, scientific explanation of if God
Right.
said, "Let there be light," something that might happen.
right.
That's how I view it,
Right.
and I
So
think there
what-
are other. I think there are other things similar to that throughout.
It's like silly shit, right? And why it just doesn't make any sense to me. Like, why frame stuff and make it so confusing, right? So, like in Genesis, he says, God created two lights, right? One to govern the day and one to govern the night, or something along those lines, right? If he would have said, God created one light, right, and one is a reflective source, in those days, that would have been, what is he talking about? There's two lights, right? But years later, we figured out exactly what he's talking about. That would have been impressive. But to me, everything in the Bible is directly correlated with what we knew scientifically of the day. it's not coincidence in my opinion.
Well, it does feel important to note that the Bible was written by people who lived at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what they thought. Like, that makes sense to me, that they would say there are two lights.
But it's divinely inspired.
So
Inspire them.
Okay, so
inspire them to write some scientifically accurate shit.
Okay. I mean, I see what you're saying, but I also feel like that directly contradicts, like, kind of the entire point
I'm listening.
of faith. Like, that's what Coley and I said. Like, if God could just be like, you know, if 5,000 years ago God was like, hey, there's going to be this thing called an iPhone. You can basically do whatever you want on it. You can go on the internet. You're going to love that. It's going to be a whole thing. And then that happens. You'd be like, anyone with half a brain would be like, you know what? I feel like we should listen to this guy.
Yeah.
But that defeats like the whole point.
I think Arian's point is like why.
And I understand what he's saying, and I really do. I don't know. Like you're asking me to ascribe the motivations of God, and I can't do that for you.
Well, fucking do it, Big T. My soul is.
What's the problem?
I can't get into that headspace, to be honest with
great.
you. So
I go to hell, and I'm gonna go to hell in a t-shirt and say Big T sent me here.
I hope that does not happen.
the when you're like, to Big T's point, when you're talking about the moments or however long before the Big Bang Theory, impossible to put into my like puny brain, like what that even means.
Both.
Yeah, we have no idea.
A God creating the universe and the universe existing out of nothing both make relatively equal 0 sense to me.
Yeah,
So
I don't disagree with that.
So they both go back to a point where you're like, okay, well then what was before that? And you're like, I don't know. Don't know. I can't tell you.
Yeah. This is why it keeps me up at night. It's fascinating.
Yeah,
It should.
This is why we ignore
Back
it.
to my original point. I just don't believe you. So
I'm okay. Well, okay, so I guess the contentious point to that would be a lot of the tools that scientists use, right, to understand the workings of the universe, see how far shit is away with very accurate depiction. A lot of the tools that they use have very pragmatic uses today. The reason why we have iPhones and computers and GPS is because we understand these. I've said it plenty of times on this podcast. The reason why we have GPS is Einstein's general theory of relativity, and the reason why it can pinpoint where you are within yards, right? It's because that same math and those same concepts takes into account the distance that the sun is, the distance that the moon is, right? And so all of those, they're all the same tools. And so one, it makes sense to you because you can use it, but two, it doesn't. Which is honestly, to the broader point of what we're talking about, to bring it back, is the reasons as to why we were racing the Soviets to get there first was because we didn't want to lose public support of they're better than us, right? We didn't want to lose that shit. So like, I think it's incentivized for you to believe in some of this shit because it shows our.
And again, before people tweet me, yes, I do. But if the space people say it, I'm sure it's fairly accurate. It just makes no sense. Makes no sense.
I agree. A lot of science makes no fucking sense, man. But it's really a beautiful story. I always say it, man. Evolution, our origins. It's just a beautiful story when you study this shit, because it's just, I don't know, it's fascinating shit to me, man. But to get back on track, as we so love to do on this podcast, so like now starts the we talking about the Cold War. Let's see. In 1959, the Soviet space program took another step forward with the launch of Luna 2, the first space probe to hit the moon. And in April 1961, the Soviet cosmonaut Yuri Gagarin became the first person to orbit the Earth. So shit heating up. Traveling in a capsule-like spacecraft, Vostok 1. For the U.S. effort to send a man into space, dubbed Project Mercury, NASA engineers designed a smaller cone-shaped capsule for lighter than Vostok. They tested the craft with chimpanzees and held a final test flight in March 1961 before the Soviets were able to pull ahead with Gagarin's launch. On May 5th, astronaut Alan Shepard became the first American in space, though not in orbit. Later that May, John F. Kennedy made the bold public claim that the U.S. would land a man on the moon before a decade. In February 1962, John Glenn became the first American to orbit the Earth. By the end of the year, the foundations of NASA lunar landing program, dubbed Project Apollo, were in place. So I was going to read all of Kennedy's speech, but that's just going to be boring as fuck. Basically, this nigga was like, he was just calling his Babe Ruth calling his shot. So they were hella behind in the space race, and he was like, check this out. By the end of the decade, we're going to have somebody in the moon, which is a wild, it's a wild leap. And from 1961 to 1964, NASA's budget was increased almost 500%. And to me, this is the biggest point. When shit got hot geopolitically, we found the funds. Bothersome. So it increased almost 500%, and the lunar landing program eventually involved some 34,000 NASA employees and 375,000 employees of industrial and university contractors. Apollo suffered a setback in January 1967 when the 3 astronauts were killed after their spacecraft caught fire, during the launch simulation. And the Soviet Union's lunar landing program proceeded tentatively, partly due to internal debate over its necessity. Like Big T was saying, what the fuck are we doing this shit for? And to the untimely death in January 1966 of Sergei Korolev, I fucked that up, chief engineer of Soviet space program. In December 1968, saw the launch of Apollo 8, the first manned space mission from orbit to the moon from NASA's massive launch facility, Mare Island near Cape
Canaveral.
There you go. I was going to Billy that shit. On July 16th, 1969, Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, Michael Collins set off the Apollo 11 space mission. After landing successfully, July 20th, Armstrong became the first man to walk on the moon surface. And so that's where we leave off. And this is where all the shit starts, right? That's where the shit starts. And so I kind of want to get y'all's thoughts. I just want to kind of set the timeline and the reasons as to why we went to the moon in the first place together. But now I kind of want to get into the reason why we're here. Did we do it? Did we not do it? There's several reasons as to why I feel it started to spin out of control and why it's such a fucking juicy conspiracy in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, I think everything you just went over, the timeline leading up to it, is what makes me most skeptical. Like, the USSR was dominating us, absolutely dominating us in the space race. It would be extremely beneficial for us to come out and broadcast that we were on the moon, whether or not we could. Just like you were saying, like, communism was something that was the big bad back then. Like, the United States did not want that infiltrating the United States. And USSR, the Cold War was, I mean, people were diving under their desks at fucking school because they thought it could come at any moment. Like, I can't imagine how tense people were every minute of every day thinking like the bomb's coming, like, and we have very little heads up. So yeah, something like this, staging this, makes a lot of sense in my mind. The thing that has me on the side of believing it, Buzz Aldrin will beat the shit out of you if you even suggest that this was faked. A lot of people like to say, like, oh, like, you listen.
Touch on that though, because for people that don't know.
Oh, I mean, people love to, for whatever reason, like, people love to press Buzz Aldrin face to face about whether or not he landed on the moon, whether or not he's real or faking this. And every single time, to his credit, he smokes that person in the face, like, no hesitation. The second he thinks you're even going near the topic of the moon landing being fake, bang, right in the kisser every time.
It's always on site with Buzz.
Yeah, Buzz, like, not with the shits.
He don't give a fuck, dog.
No. What are they gonna do? Arrest him? Of course not.
Yeah,
he knows he's good.
Which I feel I do believe we landed on the moon, but someone would say, of course they wouldn't arrest him. He got a bag in 1969 and immunity to beat the shit out of anyone who ever said it was fake. He did work for the government, after all.
For sure. I think the reason he has that immunity is because he's a national hero and an old man. Like,
Sure.
and defending himself. Like he's not running up and just punching people unprovoked. He's always provoked. But like people like to say they do the same thing with the Jordan suspension conspiracy. There are too many people involved to keep that a secret. A, the fact that we're constantly talking about these things as conspiracies leads me to believe they're not very secretive in the first place. And B, of course, people hold secrets all the fucking time. I don't know why they act like a network of people. A, everyone doesn't need to be clued in on the conspiracy part of it. The 300,000 employees or 30,000, whatever you just said, they don't all need to know. A lot of them probably do think the mission just went as planned. You only need a small group of people to actually know the truth. I don't think that that's a good counter argument as to why it isn't a conspiracy.
So you're saying not everybody needed to know?
Right. I think a lot of those people could have part of the people who got conned.
But I mean, like it's like, so I mentioned like there's like 375,000 people that worked on this shit, like, and they're just not regular people. You know
For sure.
They're like some of the smartest motherfuckers that we have. It's so you don't think somebody would be like, what are we doing? What are we really doing?
I mean, I think if they think they were working towards the goal, we all agree there was a common goal here to land on the moon. If that's the task people were given, and they just kept their head down, they're working on their part of the plan. Yeah, whatever the end result was, there were only 3 guys on the ship. You know what I mean? Like more, like how many more people had to know? 2?
Yeah, because there's just so much involved in sending a rocket to space. It's not just the cats in the front seat. You know what I mean? I don't know. I just go ahead.
I was gonna say if the rocket went to space, yeah. If it was just on a lot in Studio City, I don't know that it needed to have as much go into it. Again, I believe we landed on the moon. There's too much evidence to say that we did. However, I don't think people are like that insane because part of the reason why people question it, it is an insane thing to accomplish. Like that is an absurd thing to pull off. So I get people's hesitancy to be like, did that happen? I also think it's weird. It is both weird and not weird that we haven't landed on the moon since like 73, right? Like it's been a long time since we've sent a manned craft to the moon. Now, do we need to keep going to the moon? No, we don't. But I do think it's strange. Like we just haven't come close to doing it in 50 years now.
Right. And so this kind of like alludes to kind of how I wanted to structure this, because it was like setting the stage, right? And then kind of going over some of the things that people say and why they believe that we didn't go, right? And that is a very big one. So I have like a list of them kind of acknowledged. So there was definitely, and this is to the point, right? There was definitely spacewalk photos that were fake, for sure. We haven't gone back. The Van Allen radiation belt. There was data lost. There was a moon rock that was deemed as petrified wood that was given. There's a Bill Clinton moon quote in his book, which I'll get to. And there's like a super sketchy interview with Buzz Aldrin and all of them after they came back, which is really fucking weird. I will admit that shit. And there's intersecting shadows and also the flag waving, right? And so I don't know if we have time to get to all of that shit, man. But and this is the big one, right? Which I think kind of spurred all of this shit. It was like before the internet, there was no Twitter or YouTube and shit. There's a dude named Bill Casing, and he wrote a book after, I think it was like in 71 or 72. Excuse me. It's called We Never Went to the Moon. And in the book, he has all of these wild bro, this cat said that none of the astronauts were actually there, right? It happened on Area 51. They filmed it in Area 51, right? And that during the launch, they weren't actually there. They were actually in Las Vegas with strippers. And he alleges real shit. This is really in the book, bro. He alleges that he didn't say which one, but he alleged, and now talking about it, we kind of know which one he's talking about. But he alleges that somebody got in a fight over a stripper. so I mean, just kind of knowing cats, it sounds like some Buzz Aldrin shit anyway.
Oh yeah.
But he makes a lot of wild, outlandish claims in that book, none of which are
Substantiated.
Yeah, substantiated with any kind of real evidence. It's just claim after claim after claim. Like he said, he met a pilot that did such and such. There was no flight logs. Go ahead.
The biggest thing I've learned from this episode is the barrier of entry to writing a book is very low between
1,000%.
between the teacher we talked about earlier and this guy in 71 who was just like, you know what, fuck the moon. I got some things to say.
It's just so specific that they was in Vegas. Like,
yeah, I mean, I like the Area 51 tie-in. That definitely gets people to buy it, and that's like an extra level of like, oh yeah, I'm all in on this. But yeah, that's very funny. Like they barely come back yet, and he was just like, nope.
So the interesting shit about this is he actually ushered in like the first wave of which didn't really happen. So much as so there was a movie in 78 that came out called Capricorn 1, and it was about NASA faking the Mars landing, and they were trying to cover it up. And so it's kind of been steamrolling for a while. He also alleged that there was some NASA report that said the odds of them doing this successfully were 0%, and it was a NASA report. But he never provided the report, and people have looked for the report, and they don't know what a report is. Odds are it's not a real. But it's to me, all of these things always have an origin, whether it's like flat Earth or whether there's like always some origin, and it's always either somebody with like some profit motive or somebody without any substantiated claim, and kind of set in motion all of these things. But I did want to give credence to some of these, right? Because some of them are hella sketchy, right? And so there's the first one I had in mind of Big T. Everything to add before I keep going on? I'm over talking.
No, you're all good.
All right. Michael Collins, Spacewalk. If anybody Googles this, you can see it. I'm gonna pull it up right now. You can pull it up too, if y'all on it. So the Michael Collins Spacewalk was a picture that I think NASA put out for kind of like advertisement of the thing, and that's a big thing too. NASA's shit at PR, bro. They are really bad at PR. And I think
the moon landing Friday 6 p.m.
And so they have a picture that they put out of him that was actually doing a spacewalk, but they just flipped it, reversed it, and like Photoshop shit in the background, and it's obvious that that's what they did, right? And so this kind of stuff just gives credence to people saying that the shit didn't happen, and it's why it's so bothersome. But this is an actually thing that didn't happen. Next one I want to address is why haven't we gone back? In my opinion, it is very reasonable to believe we haven't been back because of lack of funding. We just saw their budget increased 500% after Russia launched their shit. After that, they said what the president was on board. He was like,
I was like top priority.
Yeah, and it was all just like I said, we was in the middle of a Cold War, and we were trying to prove to ourselves and our citizens that we were the superior country. We've had no such geopolitical pressure since then. And I think until something else like that manifests, we won't, because we don't prioritize that as a country, as a world. That's not our priority. Is not exploration. It is not investigation. Our priority is either profit or geopolitics, natural resource gain, or anything along those lines. I just don't see us making it a priority enough to increase funds like that. Do y'all have any issues with that, or do you like, no, we should have been back? Or do you understand that line of thinking, like we just haven't had any funds to do so?
Yeah, I mean, like I was saying before, there was certainly an extreme amount of pressure to pull this off in the time, and there hasn't been anything even close since. And once it's done, like you can't, doing it again doesn't really do, like you're not putting numbers on the board. Like people don't care about, like the focus shifted to Mars. I feel like that was hot. Like that pops up every few years. I understand why we can't make that a manned mission. But it is weird that it's moved to like the attraction of space travel in general has moved to the private, like it's like a private war between billionaires now. Like it's not countries, it's just individuals.
Which is
and
so
it's
on
like
brand for us, by the way.
1,000%. But it's also like, if I think more to something you were saying, like if the moon had oil, we'd be there would be it would be tethered to the earth. There would be a pipeline that was tethered to the United States. So the fact that it has no resources is, I think, the biggest reason why we haven't put more money into it, less the geopolitical thing, since it was basically like a global dunk contest. We jumped from the free throw line. Russia kind of just like tapped the backboard, and we were like, yeah, we win, and that was it.
I agree. Big T, what you feeling?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I get at the time why it was a thing, and I'm sure at the time I would have been like, we got to get to the fucking moon right now. But looking back on it, it's so stupid. Like, who cares?
So stupid.
Well, there's a lot of stuff that NASA has developed that has helped our society.
Oh, for sure. And it's a technological marvel and an incredible achievement. But like, you got on the moon. How do we know how long they were on the moon? It feels like a real, like the build up was way better than you get there and you're like, okay, like there's nothing up here. It's the moon. We can go home. I feel like you walk out of the spacecraft, it should have been 2 minutes. 2 minutes, you're on the moon. This is what it is, and then we're headed back.
It says on here that they were on the moon for 6 hours, or they were like physically there for 6 hours and 39 minutes.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah. What were they doing?
I mean, you want to make that trip, like you got to stretch your legs.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. You make it worth it. I mean, get the bang for your buck. But
yeah, imagine if if you realized later, like a 1 hour more, and we could have found this, like you would have kicked you.
That's fair. That's fair, and it's not an easily replicable trip. That is fair.
No, no.
But it's just like once you get there, like okay.
I don't understand how big the moon is. Like if you're standing on it, if you were Buzz Aldrin, like was it as big? Like is it like me walking the Manhattan, or is it like me walking from like New York to California? How big is it?
I don't know the size, but
the radius is 1,100 miles, so that would be like from here to Missouri-ish.
So it's like not that big.
No, it's a moon.
No, I mean you see it in the sky. It's not taking up a lot of space.
Right, but when you like see those pictures from the moon landing of them, like physically with their feet on the ground in the moon, it like kind of looks like it's just like a couple blocks long. Doesn't look that big.
It's hard with like the vantage point because there aren't like buildings or any nature or anything. It's a desert more or less. So
right.
It's like it's hard. I get what you're saying. It's hard to grasp the size of it. And like every time we see it depicted in pop culture, whether it be like cartoons or movies, like you always see like a person walking on the moon. Whereas if you tried to show like a person walking on Earth, you have to zoom so far in.
Right.
Yeah, the radius of the moon is from here to Columbia, Missouri.
Oh, yeah.
Whoa, did you just spitball that?
No, I guessed Missouri, and then I looked it up, and from here to Columbia, Missouri is 1,069 miles. Nice. The radius of the moon is 1,070.
So you nailed it.
That's impressive, actually. That's pretty
well,
good.
I knew from here to Nashville is like 800 miles, so I was like, what's a little bit further than that, Missouri?
That's fucking impressive, man.
It's still pretty good.
Yeah, I ain't mad at that at all. Shout out to Big T.
Talk about the flag waving.
Yeah, that was another big one. So I was gonna come to that. So flag waving and intersecting shadows, right? So the flag waving, I get why people don't buy this shit, but it makes sense to me. They say that the reason why the flag is waving is because when they put it up, they were all about optics, right? They were saying we need to make it look like bam, have an impact, right? And so it would just be still. And so they put a metal rod on the top. I think they said that they put a metal rod on the top.
You can see it in the picture.
Yeah, and they kind of maneuvered it to make it look like it was waving just for optics. And so that was their explanation. I don't see any reason for that not to be the case.
Wouldn't it without the rod, it would just like fall straight down, right?
I don't know if it would fall, but it would take a little minute, but it wouldn't be. Yeah. I don't know enough about the physics of the moon. I keep it a buck.
Right.
I don't know, but
that would look. I feel like we would lose if the flag was like limp. You know what I mean? Like
and
a
that's
limp
what,
flag.
and that's what they wanted to avoid, was they wanted to avoid like a limp looking flag, and so they made it look kind of like American-esque, flowing in the wind. That's what they wanted, which makes sense to me. I don't know. The other one was opposite or conflicting light sources, and so this one also made sense to me when you look at the explanation from it. Is that the moon is a very reflective surface, so much so as you can see it from where we're at, and that it wasn't light. Light was definitely coming from the sun, being its main source, but light was coming from other places as well because the moon has such a reflective surface. There was also one that was saying there was another light source on it because it was a stage, that there was a dude climbing out of the landing rover or whatever it's called, and he was in the shadow, so he should have been not visible. But again, they didn't account for the reflective surface of the moon and how much light that emitted and that created. Y'all have any contentious points with that one?
No, I mean, we definitely had the technology to pull off a fake moon landing. I do believe that.
At the time, see, I think that's where I disagree. I don't
Stanley
think we
Kubrick.
had the technology to do it.
Yeah, Kubrick was. I mean, A Space Odyssey 2001 came out in '68.
Yep.
That was, so he filmed it 2 years before we were at the moon, and that movie's still visually stunning.
Do you want to you want to go into that?
That does feel a bit on the nose, like that we would have hired the guy who made the space movie. I mean, it makes sense, but it's also like hiding in plain sight. Maybe that was the plan.
I mean,
I don't know.
I get what you're saying, but like, you wouldn't want like a second-rate director making it look shitty.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah. But imagine how much money they would have had to pay him to get. I guess the amount of money that you could have paid people to keep it a secret, and the amount of money it really would have taken to go to the moon, would be, you'd probably come out cheaper the former. So.
Yeah.
A big conspiracy is like The Shining. The Shining. I've actually never seen the movie, oddly enough. But The Shining, they say
that Ready Player One.
That's facts. That is facts.
Have
you seen Ready Player One?
Let me tell you something. I was laying in bed last night. It was about 11 o'clock, and I was like, let's just see. I went on Netflix. It wasn't on Netflix, and it's on HBO. So I went on HBO, and I was sitting at the screen. It was like 11:15, and I was like, I can't make this commitment right now. I was a little too tired, but I started to do it. I started to do it.
I appreciate the attempt. I'm telling you,
we're getting very close. We're getting very close. If it was
searched it up.
If it was 9:30, you would have had some thoughts on the movie from me today.
That's fucking funny, man. So in The Shining, there's a bunch of what they would call like Easter eggs or stuff like that in the movie that they're saying Stanley Kubrick was alluding to the fact that it was not a real thing, that we did not go to the moon. And there's various different reasons. I'm not gonna go over all of them. And a lot of it's a lot of conjecture. But the wild part was the kid in the movie. He's wearing this Apollo 11 t-shirt. That's kind of wild. And there's all kinds of like little things he left in there. Like I think originally in the book it was like the room number was different in that hotel or whatever they were staying at, and he changed it to 237 because 237 was a distance correlated to how far away the moon is, like 237,000 or something like that. So there's a bunch of little different things like that. And what they're saying is the admittance of, like you said, hiding in plain sight. It's a conspiracy I didn't really get much into because I haven't seen the movie, so I can't really speak on it like that. But I just read a couple of their hitting their main point.
Yeah, only thing I'll say to that is Kubrick is like genius to the point where if he wanted to pull off something like that, he could have.
Yeah, I heard he's really like, bro would like do super high level math shit just for fun.
Yeah, he was like, I think he's the best director of all time, and I don't know why that's not more widely accepted as a viewpoint. Like, not that no one else thinks that. Other people obviously think that, but I'm shocked it's not like kind of how we talk about Jordan. Like, yep, let's debate number 2.
I don't know much about him. Is he dead?
Yeah. He I don't think it was too long ago. Like 20 years or so. I don't think it was in the early, because I was 99. Okay. What do you make? Eyes Wide Shut was his last one, and that was 99. So that came out the year he died. If you've never seen any of his movies?
No. I mean, I don't know. I don't know enough about him to say yes or no. Did I? Like, I know I haven't seen The Shining. I haven't seen Eyes Wide Shut.
Have you seen Clockwork Orange?
I know it's a book though.
Yeah, I think they all are. If I were you, I would start with A Clockwork Orange. Maybe 2001: A Space Odyssey, since you love space so much. But Clockwork Orange is such a like haunting projection of what the future is going to devolve into, and if you don't take it as like a literal representation of what the future is going to devolve into, he kind of fucking nails it.
I'm definitely down to check him out. Let me see what else gives credence to this shit. One was in Bill Clinton, and he had an autobiography, and he talked about a story of like a carpenter he worked with. And he said, the old carpenter asked me if I really believed it happened. I said, sure, I saw it on television. He disagreed. He said that he didn't believe it for a minute, and that them television fellers could make anything look real that wasn't. And then I think later on he went on to say, I wondered if he was ahead of his time. So that they kind of used that as, oh shit, my bad. They kind of used that to say, oh, Bill Clinton knew some shit. This is another one. I think if we didn't, Trump would have been blew the whistle. Trump would have been saying that, especially now. Like, you know what I mean? Like, Trump would have been saying, you know what? Fuck it, I'm letting it loose.
Do you think they treated him like a real president and told him everything like they do the rest of the presidents? I think it's a fair question. I don't know that he got the full debriefing.
Well, it was on record that he didn't read a lot of the debriefing.
Also true. Yeah, they could put all sorts of secrets.
He would have asked about this, though. I feel like on day one, I'm asking about this. I'm asking about Area 51. Listen, let's take one day. Let's put all our cards on the table, and then we'll get back to doing real president shit. But I got elected. I'm the most powerful person in the world, and my first order of business is finding out all this shit.
I feel like you can't fully do your job without knowing these answers.
I agree.
I truly believe that.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. That agenda, Big D.
Yeah. Day one, let's lay everything out.
Give me be part of the administration.
I'm down with that.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
What cabinet position you want?
Oh, make one up. This is pure nepotism.
Secretary of
running backs.
Give me till Wednesday, and I'll come up with a cabinet position for you.
I like that.
I think you should come up with one for me as well.
I could be the liaison for our science education. The liaison from the public to the science educator. I would like to do that.
That feels like actual work, though.
But it'll be not really. You just tell me what to do. I'll summarize it and make it sound cool.
Here's the summary. Everybody has to watch Ready Player One.
That'd be fire. First order business.
Mandate.
President of the United States wants everybody to download HBO Max and watch Ready Player One.
Government subsidized, of course, I presume.
Of course, we got to take care of the people.
Yeah, free trial weekend on the president.
You'll poll great.
You really would. Sadly.
That's not a whole. Listen, like employers do stuff like that. Like at Barstool, we get you get $80 a month in free Uber Eats stuff. Like just to be cool. Like the government, if you got poll numbers like Biden and Kamala have right now, they should be like, you know what? This weekend they should try PFT's like free pizza thing. It's free pizza Friday. Wherever you want, it's on us. Free pizza.
Or just like
healthcare.
Yeah, go get a checkup on us. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? Go get it. It's on us. Something
Your
like that.
copay today is taken care of.
Your yearly, everyone gets a yearly checkup. Anything more, that's on you, but we'll at least check you out.
If you find cancer during your screening, pull yourself up by your bootstrap. But at least you found it.
Yeah. Now you know.
At least you found it. I don't know. I had like 3 or 4 other things, but I think unless y'all have anything else, man. It gets to me. It got really boring really fast looking at the debunking of a lot of this stuff because they're very real explanations, but they're just not as sexy as the conspiracy. The conspiracy is very sexy, dog. But like, it's just not as fun to talk about. Like, they're just real explanations. Science is boring as fuck. Math is boring as fuck. You have to love that shit in order to like study it. And so when people hear about a lot of the shit that went on and what it takes for it to go on, they lose interest and be like, yeah, but, and they fill in the blank.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an important topic for us to hit on because I do really believe this to be like the first conspiracy a lot of people either fell in love with or gave credence to. Like when you talk conspiracies overall, like lizard people, skinwalkers, like a lot of them are a little bit more still, even to this day, like underground. Moon landing is the conspiracy of all conspiracy. Like that's numero uno. I don't know what's ever going to replace that, but it's been talked about so long that I think it's lost. From our perspective, is like people talking about it. Like if we did this show 10 years ago, even, I think it's a lot juicier of a conversation. There aren't as many debunkings. There aren't as many boring science facts like you're talking about. It's more just riffing off of the cuff what you feel. We've gotten to a point where it's been talked about. It's like flat Earth. Like flat Earth does nothing for me. I'd rather talk about whether or not birds are real. Like that's a more interesting conspiracy to me.
Which is fucking hilarious.
Have you guys seen Transformers?
There's like 4 of them or something.
Well, yeah. So one of them's called The Dark Side of the Moon, and it hasn't been proven that Centennial Prime just isn't on the moon. That he didn't crash a ship on the moon. There's no proof. I'm just saying. It would be cool if Transformers were real.
Shit. I think, and this is what I think. I think that there is an alien civilization out there that's just far technologically advanced than us, like crazy, like can't even fathom the shit that they do or they're into, and they look at us like we look at ants in the Amazon. They're like, we don't want to deal with them.
There was like a point. I was gonna say there was a point in my life where I looked at cars thinking that like they were Transformers, and my parents had to convince me that they weren't. Like I was convinced that there were certain vehicles on the road that were Transformers, and that they were just gonna start an all-out attack.
Maybe they gaslighting you, and that shit's real.
Who knows? Listen, I'm just saying, it's never been proven that he didn't crash a ship on the dark side of the moon.
I heard something. What? Now I don't even remember what you just said that made me think of it. Oh, the alien thing. I heard somebody say recently, I forget who it was, but that if we ever proved that we were living in a simulation, we would be the AI that became sentient, and that fucked me up.
Interesting.
If we were living in a sense, yeah, that's actually wild. I mean, that's a whole another bag of worms. Is are we living in a simulation?
Here's my question.
I don't know.
Here's my question. Do you think there's things? Do you think there's things that they saw on the moon? If they were actually on the moon, do you think there's things that they saw on the moon that are like completely classified, not just like, you know what I'm saying? Do you think they saw anything different? They were like, oh God, like we gotta write this down.
Yeah.
Not tell anybody.
I think they definitely took notes. I definitely think they jotted some stuff down, but I do think the moon just kind of does suck. Like it's boring. There's not. I would love for that to have been the case, but it is kind of just a big rock.
True. It is. The big
Like
rock with some holes in it.
We haven't really explored the dark side though, right?
We can't.
So I'm saying.
It's fucking cold.
What I'm saying, Arian.
Well, see, I think that's the biggest issue with our government and how they operate is they always try to hide shit, and that's the problem. And they think that they just looking out for our well-being, or maybe the public can't take or whatever it is. Bro, if you just straight up and like, man, I told y'all in the 60s one shit on the moon. You know what I mean? Like it would just be so much better that we could have a receipt of them telling the truth, but they're always lying. So anything that they tell us, we always skeptical about it. But just sometimes the truth is not that fun. Sometimes the truth is fucking boring. Sometimes it's true. You know what I'm saying? It's just, but we always find ourselves lying to the public because for they got their reasons. But if they was just straight up, it would be so much easier to talk to people about that kind of stuff. But because they lie all the time, can't trust them. Can't put them on the field.
The real move, sneaky, would have been like coming back, being like, you wouldn't believe the shit that's up there. Forcing Russia to go up there, wasting their time while we were dealing with stuff down here.
I like
that. Would have been the great, like, oh man, yeah, I'm not going to tell you. You got to go find out for yourself. Making Russia be like, ah, fucking fine, and then we just Buzz Aldrin them from the ground.
Pump fake. I like that.
I'm surprised he hasn't done like some celebrity death match and shit.
On the moon.
He an angry, ornery little motherfucker, bro. He be trying to really slap people, bro. That shit hilarious.
Oh, if you were the first person to walk on the moon and you constantly had people telling you it didn't actually happen, like I'm sure you'd be pretty pissed off too.
Yeah, I mean my Twitter DM's full of people who always talking shit, and I talk back.
Yeah, we've got an army of people telling you that you didn't have great hands. Like I'm sure that infuriates you.
Yeah, hey, my mom's be on y'all head about that shit too.
Coley, who do you think's more on site, Buzz Aldrin or Charles Oakley?
Buzz for sure. Charles Oakley, Charles Oakley just looks down on people to the point where it's like you're not even worth my time.
Gotcha. I love Buzz Aldrin, man. He's such a character. I sent the video in the chat. I don't know if you saw it, Arian. It's hilarious. You got to watch it. I need to hear your reaction.
Here, let me.
You got to skip a little bit though. There's like a whole part. It's like and then the guy just walks up to him and he absolutely rocks him.
This also just got confirmed 2 hours ago. Inez Freedom is speaking at CPAC Florida 2022.
Wow,
it's a great conference.
No way. Color me shocked.
It's a great conference. They got some good.
It's a 3-day conference. That's not even the same time as the All-Star game, is it? Like what? He's just leaving the game for 3 days?
Is he good at basketball anymore?
No.
Okay.
Below average.
That's not during the All-Star game.
Wait, when is this?
It's
February 24th.
Through the 27th, and the All-Star game's the 20th.
So the 24th they're playing here.
And he's just in Florida.
The 26th they play in Detroit, and the 27th they play in Indiana. I thought they were going to be playing like the Magic or something. And he was like, "Oh, it works out. I can go."
Yeah.
No,
okay.
yeah.
My man stole him. Sorry. I just watched the Buzz Aldrin video, bro.
Very funny.
He ain't just like lightly old man tap him in you stole him.
No, he punches the dude for sure.
Yo, he stole him. That's hilarious.
Buzz Aldrin is very much about that life.
I love that too, because like if Justin Bieber punches the paparazzi, people go crazy. Like if people punch the paparazzi, it's like a whole story. Buzz Aldrin does it. They're like, he's just an old guy who gets mad every time.
It was a story, but everyone's just on his side.
Yeah.
That's funny as hell.
Love it.
Put your hand on the Bible. Tell me you went to the moon.
Won't he not do that? He won't swear on the Bible that he went.
Well, I think it's just weird that people are.
No, I agree with him, but that's another conspiracy. Like, he won't swear on the Bible. Like that's not like the end all be all.
Yeah.
to them it is. But like my man's is out to eat with a little shorty. You know what I'm saying? He's doing his thing, and some weirdo
one of his stripper friends.
Yeah, one of his strippers they met in Las Vegas during the moon mission. And some weirdo comes up with a Bible, does some swear on this that you haven't been on the moon. He's like, bro, I'm about to. And he does.
Can I finish my chicken parm, please?
Yeah, bro, I'm with him. I'm with him, man. What a bum that dude is. Fuck with Buzz Aldrin. That's the rest of my life energy.
I feel bad for the third guy, Michael Collins?
Yeah. Nobody ever talks about Cass.
No, it's like Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin are two. On top of being like tremendous human beings, like Hall of Fame names, Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin, like very strong names. Michael Collins is just like, I guess he was there too.
I didn't know who that was until just now.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest.
I've never heard that name before in my life.
Right? Yeah, it's like he landed one of the first 3 people. Like we just don't give a fuck.
It's tough.
That's fucked up.
Would you have wanted to have gone first or second stepping on the moon?
First? What kind of question is that?
Yeah, me first.
Wow.
Me first.
You literally
I understand.
don't know what's on there.
I understand your reservations, but me, I've always thought like, so like one time I had a thought, right? And I was smoking with my buddy who smoked. Like he smokes a lot, and I don't really smoke that much because like every now and then it just takes me to a place I don't like to go.
You think about space too much to be smoking.
That's the problem. My brain don't stop, and when I smoke, it hella don't stop. And so I was smoking, and like at one time I was like, I don't like I get nervous, I get in my head, and I'm like, man, I don't want to be the first person to die on weed. And he was smoking, he was like, that'd be fucking awesome. He was like, I want to get his name. He's like, I want to get his name high. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to get Arian high. He's like, that would be great to be known like that. And I'm like, that's his thinking. So like with the space shit, that's my shit. If I died on the moon, you're immortalized. You're immortalized.
Surviving, you came pretty close to being immortalized too. If you died,
demoralized.
Yeah. If you died from weed, they would make that shit more illegal than it's ever been tomorrow. Like no one should want to be the first person to die from weed. He was with that shit. I get what like that's a very stoner thought of him to have. It's just he wasn't thinking it all the way through.
No, I promise he would absolutely want to. I'm talking about this. Like seeing him sober is weird. Like, it's weird as fuck, dog. Like, I don't think it's been a while.
You've seen him sober?
He connects blunts every day. Just back to wake up, and that's what he does. Like Snoop. From when I was hanging out with Snoop the same way too. Like just blunt after blunt. I'm like, cause I'll hit it, and after about 6-7 hits, I'm stuck.
Yeah.
I can't talk to you. I just stare at you. I'm thinking things and I'm thinking I'm talking, but I'm not. You know what I mean? It's like, what am I? I start thinking about my hand placement. Like, is this normal? Do people normally do this with their hands? I start going through that whole process, right? Like, that's why I can only do like maybe 1 or 2 hits, bro. I'm not a smoker.
Snoop's weed, from everything I've heard, I've never obviously tried it, but everything I've heard is I wouldn't be able to handle it. Like 10 years ago, yeah, I would have been sitting there right with him having the time of my life. Now, no, that would have me in the hospital.
Have I told my Snoop story on this? I think I did.
I don't know.
Yeah, it was a long time ago, though.
I've tried Snoop's weed. Never again.
He's just like Iron Man. Like, he's like unstoppable. Like, he'll smoke anybody out.
I'll bet on Snoop. That's for sure. I will absolutely bet on Snoop, man. That motherfucker smoking, man. He had me walking. I took 1 hit. I was fucking. I just left. I don't even know if I said bye to him.
Oh, you were in the club, weren't you?
Yeah, it was at some club. And he pulled me up there. And I don't even know how I exited the conversation. I think it's one of those where I just kind of like Homer Simpson backed up and just I can't handle how high I am right now. So I gotta go reevaluate my life before I have a panic attack in front of Snoop Dogg.
Sneaky, a great defense system for him. Like anyone who he doesn't want to be around anymore, he's like, here, because no one's going to turn down Snoop Dogg. Like,
that's the only reason why I did. Like I said, I'm not really a smoker like that, but Snoop offer you weed. It's in the bylaws of the U.S. Constitution. You have to smoke.
Have to. I mean, for someone who I feel like Snoop Dogg, we might need to have to do an episode on, because I feel like, or at least maybe a Macrodosing, like he was arrested for murder. No. Yeah, like
he had a case.
Right. Yeah, murder was the case.
Like
I feel like that's 10 lifetimes ago for Snoop. Like now he's got a Bic lighter endorsement with Martha Stewart. Like they're both on the package.
He coached youth football. He went from that to being a mentor for young children.
That's probably more normal than you think, though. Like a lot of cats in the neighborhood go through shit in jail, come back and help the youth out. That's actually normal. But the Martha Stewart cooking show and shit, yeah, he's one of the most beloved figures of America.
By far.
Yeah.
If he ran for president, I know people probably wouldn't take him super seriously, but his approval rating would be through. Like, who's anti Snoop Dogg in 2022?
I was going to say, in terms of like universal approval, The Rock is up there with him.
Not at the moment, but yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, yes.
Why not? What happened with?
He just responded to Joe Rogan's first apology video last week, being like, "I support you. I can't wait to come on and share my tequila with you." And then the new compilation video went viral, and people were pressing
I had a new video drop.
yeah, and people were like, "Hey, The Rock, this is your boy, right?" And he was like, "Ah, jeez, this is what I signed up for."
What did he say? What did he say?
He tweeted like, "I'm sorry, I didn't know he had ever said anything like that." Let me find the tweet.
Yeah, it's tough.
That's wild.
He was like, "I was just trying to promote my tequila, and now I'm stuck in this."
But so strategically, and that's so funny, man, because strategically, The Rock has stayed out of any political conversation. Because he understood his universal lovability, right? But I'm talking about as soon as my man puts a toe in the water, man, them niggas on his head. They on his head.
Yep.
They on his head. But that's the polarization we live in, and why I was always under the like, fuck it, be you. People gonna hate you for whatever you do, man. Pop said it best. So just be you. Like, that's why I never trust people with no dirt on them. I don't trust these like politicians kissing babies. Like, show me what you've done in your life. Show me the bad shit you've done and how you have recovered from it and how you've learned from it. But all these fucking perfect humans, I don't like them. I don't trust them. They got bodies. I don't trust them.
You have a Big T?
Yeah, some guy named Don Winslow tweeted him as like, "You're a hero to many people using your platform to defend Joe Rogan. A guy who has used and laughed about using the N-word dozens of times is a terrible use of your power." He said, "Dear Don Winslow, thanks so much for this. I hear you as well as everyone 100%. I was not aware of his N-word use prior to my comments, but now I've become educated to his complete narrative. Learning moment for me. Mahalo, brother, and have a great and productive weekend. Signed, DJ." He signed.
That's such a non-statement.
Yeah.
He threw a soft curve.
I do think the phrase "educated to his complete narrative" is an interesting choice of words.
It's also wrong. Like that doesn't mean he learned everything about Joe Rogan just because of this too. Like he just
facts.
Yeah. So.
I love when celebrities sign off, like with their initials. Hulk Hogan's the best at it, but that's a good one. I like DJ.
Yeah, but for him, like, that'll blow up in 2 days. Nobody will remember that he said it, and he'll be right back to 100%. Trying to think if anybody else is that high.
I think Shaq's up there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely up there. Oh, wow. Matter of fact, I'll put Shaq above Snoop.
Wow.
Shaq
you gotta
is
remember,
like,
he did play for the Lakers.
My man has a commercial with maybe every kind of product there is. Lotion, car insurance, back pain shit. I can't name it. Like, so his face is just pizza. It's just everywhere.
Don't
so
get
like,
the Shaq-a-roni though. It's trash. Somebody
I've
DM'd me and said I got the wrong Shaq-a-roni. I ordered the Shaq-a-roni. I ordered the Shaq-a-roni.
We might have to give it a second shot for our guy.
I don't think it exists anymore. I think it was like a promotional deal. But
promotional, yeah. I mean, he owns Krispy Kreme. Like, he does I can't imagine. The only person, when I came out of the old office one day and I was walking and there was like this tea, Nouveau tea place on the corner. And there were celebrities that popped in and out of there all the time. And there were celebrities that, like, I don't get fazed by celebrity at all because we deal with them in this world. And I saw people sticking there, like, up to the glass, like peeking in. And I was like, that usually doesn't happen. And so I look in and fucking it's Shaq. And I call our camera people immediately and I'm just like, Shaq's downstairs. Like, I wouldn't do that for any, like, Brad Pitt, nobody else would have gotten me to take out my phone and be like, we need to get Shaq captured on camera. Like, he was this close to the office.
After Shaq. I got two. And there was three, but I got two celebrities where I feel like I would be visibly starstruck. I think I've said it before, but it's Hov and Jim Carrey.
Okay.
It was Kobe, and I met him, and I was absolutely starstruck. But I kept it together. I absolutely kept it together.
Proud of you.
Okay, hey man, it was tough, but I was like, I acted so cool. Like, in the picture I took with him, I was like. And he was all cheesing, and I was like, "Your cool ass." Y'all have any Y'all have any you would probably be starstruck if you see me?
I met
or her.
I met Calvin Johnson and I like literally I couldn't talk because I grew up, in Georgia watching Georgia Tech and stuff, and he was like, he's still
he's a Georgia fan.
No, he's still my favorite football player ever, and like I met him and I couldn't speak, like I didn't know what to do.
That's cute.
I was a kid though. I was probably
it's dope.
12, 13.
The hardest.
It shows you humility, man. I like not you in general, but just like in general. It shows like the humility of humans to be like to have admiration for somebody else to where it kind of like takes you, you're beside yourself. I like. What was yours, Coley?
The hardest for me was I was at the All-Star game in Charlotte a few years ago, and me and Tyler had built a relationship with the Retired Players Association. So we were staying in the hotel with like legends. And it didn't really cross my mind until he was walking towards us that Bill Russell would be there. And he just like, the whole room changed. Like everyone was just like, that's Bill Russell. Even like Dikembe was like, that's Bill Russell. And the dude who runs the Retired Players Association, Scott Rochelle, was just like, I mean, you guys have to go over. And Tyler was like, had to like push me over there. And like I had to walk up to him and be like, Mr. Russell, like it's such an honor. Like I'm wearing a Boston hat as I always am. So it was just, and I sound like how I sound. So I was just like, I'm from Boston. Like I just want to say thank you for everything. And it was like the day after his birthday. So I was like, I just wanted to say also happy birthday. And he leaned over and he was just like, don't live this long. And he has such an iconic, like he has such a great laugh, and he just like he pauses for a second and stares at us, and then he starts dying laughing, and I was just like, Bill Russell just kind of told me to kill myself, and it's the best moment of my life. Absolutely incredible.
That's fucking dope, man. That is super dope. What a story. Yeah. I had one moment where I didn't take. I seen Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He was at a Dodger game this last summer, and he was just sitting there, and I was like, I can't go up to him. Like, this is not the time. Like, I don't.
No, that's a weird spot, and it's like, it's got to be weird for you too, because like you do have like a level of fame, and you did play a sport like at the highest level, like he did, but there's still there's just levels,
massive amounts of discrepancy. Like he wouldn't know who I was. But more so, I always I was like, I just don't want about it because he's just out here trying to enjoy the ball game like I am. So I was like, I let it be. It happened in my mind. That's good enough.
We had Kareem on the show twice, and it's like he was our second interview ever. So I went from Mike Conley Jr., who I love Mike Conley Jr., and I was nervous for that too. But like the next day, our second interview ever was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And I was just like, man, oh man, I don't want to fuck this one up. Yeah.
Real fucking quick.
Yeah. So we're talking to him, and like us and Pardon My Take interviewed him in tandem. And he sat at the table, and his legs, like he sat at it at the head of the table, and his legs were like longer than the length of like a decent sized table. And it was just like surreal to ask him questions and like get him to laugh and stuff like that, because Kareem's like a very particular dude. Like he's super opinionated on stuff. Obviously he changed his name to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Like he's got some takes, and it's like that's someone like I respect, even though he's like a Laker. And it was just like, so, and then the second time we talked to him, like he obviously, why would he remember us? So it was like kind of like having to do it the first time all over again.
Right.
Very, I don't want to say intimidating, but it's just like he's got this like stoicism about him and all this earned respect, and like he was doing the marches and all this stuff, like just such an important human that it's like certain people, like if I fucked up a part of an interview with Chris Sale, and I love Chris Sale, but like doesn't really haunt me. If I'd fucked up a Kareem interview or talking to Bill Russell, like I would never get over that.
Yeah, that's tough. That's dope. You got to meet some of your heroes though. They always say don't meet your heroes. I say do though.
Have y'all ever like met somebody that was an asshole?
I mean, yeah, but I don't know.
I did, but I didn't. I kind of put it into context. Like one of my who is like relatively to the superstars we're talking about, is not on that level, but to me is, right? And maybe to some other people, but Skip to Malou, it's like to me like the greatest street baller of all time, right? And I just grew up idolizing Skip to Malou, and so I'm not saying he was an asshole, but I was a kid, 11 years old, and I went to one of the annual mixtape tours in LA, and I asked him to sign my towel. And he just like was kind of like nonchalant about it. I was like, "Fuck, these fucking towels so hard to sign." He just kind of threw it back. At the time, I was like, it hurt my feelings. But as an adult, I'm like, man, he probably got asked every fucking day, every tour. And towels are hard to sign. Like it's hard to write on them shits. Like, and so I understood where he was coming from. Like it wasn't. I just didn't take it personally. And so I think it kind of changed my perspective once I had a little bit of fame versus me as a child. I understood the humanity part of it and how easy it is for somebody who doesn't go through it every day to be like, it's not hard to be hard to a child. Well, it is when there's fucking thousands of them throughout the course of your life, and they're not all nice either. And then their parents are not nice either. And then you deal with all the other stuff involved. It's just, I could see how a celebrity sometimes would be like, what do you want though? What do you want? Like,
yeah, I've been rewatching The Last Dance as like the show I fall asleep to a lot recently.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think it's kind of like talking about the universe. It's hard to grasp how famous Michael Jordan is. And I'm sure there are people out there who had bad experiences with him, like just because of the amount of experiences he's had with the general public. But like overall, like the amount of like talking to kids and signing stuff that he did, like it's got to be in like the millions, probably.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because I've seen it before a lot with like celebrities and athletes. If it's a one-on-one situation and they're kind of like a dick, I can see why people call him an asshole. But like when it's a situation like they're coming out of a building and thousands of people are asking for autographs and stuff, I can totally see why they don't sign, because if they sign for one, they feel like they got to sign for all, and then they're just going to be looked at as an asshole anyway. So I totally see that side of like, you know, they might not always come out and sign or take pictures because of that reason, because they feel like they have to do it for everybody. So I totally get that.
I don't know if I've told this on here, but when I was a security guard at Fenway.
You were a security guard at Fenway?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
They have the adult autograph seekers, who I'm sure Arian's accustomed to.
Woaded.
They just waited out. Huh? Yeah, the worst. They would hang outside gate D, and they just had binders of glossy 8x, all that.
It's for my kid, man. You can personalize it to me, man. I promise it's for my kid. Bro, get the fuck out my face.
They got backpacks, like they carry, like they have little kids just to try and Trojan horse their way. But the worst, and they'd ask me like, when's this guy coming out? Like I'm the lowest paid person here. I have no fucking clue. Like, don't ask me. And Yu Darvish was a rookie. Yu Darvish, Arian, was a Japanese pitcher who came over, and anytime, like he was one of the big, like he was supposed to be that guy, and he is really good. But anytime those guys come over, like especially that first year, they're mega stars, because those rookie autographs, I'm sure as you know, go for way more. And so he comes out finally. I was shocked he even came out that way, but he comes out and immediately gets mobbed. And he's talking loudly in Japanese on his phone to very much be like, I don't understand any of you. Then he sees me in the security outfit, and like he's mobbed. And he leans over to me and he goes, where can I get a cab? In perfect English. And I just go, over there. And he just he just nods, goes back on his phone, goes back to loudly speaking in Japanese, and bolts down the street. I was like, what a legend.
That's
what a
awesome.
Brilliant mind.
I love that.
That's dope, man. That's dope. No, I tend to give celebrities in the benefit of the doubt. But I also think people in general are assholes. So they probably are assholes, but I still give them the benefit of the doubt in those situations. Because it's mad at no. Like, I had some run-ins with people, dog. Like, I've had people like tweet me shit that was like not true, and I remember what they're talking about. Like, one dude was like, fuck Arian Foster. And I was like, why, bro? And I hit him back. I was like, why? Like, why fuck me? What'd I do to you? I just had time that day. And he was like, you were working out at Rice, which is a university here. You're working out at Rice, and a group of kids came up to you, and you told them, "Not right now. I'm working out." I'm like, dog, that is the biggest crock of shit I've ever heard in my life. I was like, not only are you lying, I have witnesses. And so I text my brother, and I text dude that used to work out with us who is a Pro Bowl tight end, Owen Daniels. I texted him too, because he worked out with us that entire summer. And I was like, was there ever a group of kids that came up to us? And I denied them, because kids would come up all the time, dog. He was like, no, fuck no, I don't do that shit. So I text that dude back, or DM'd him those pictures, and I was like, you're lying, fam. He's like, I saw it with my own eyes. I was like, I don't give a fuck. You're a fucking liar. It's just like, I don't know. You get a whole bunch of stories. Like, people will make up. I recently heard, dog. Here's some gossip. You want to hear some gossip?
Yep.
Yeah.
I heard. Yeah, I was jumping on that one. I heard from a bird that got back to me. They was like, yo, you have a baby. And I was like, and in my mind, like, I know my body count. So I was like, bird? Oh shit. I was nervous as fuck. And the person tells me, yeah. So this person reached out to me and showed her pictures, and I was looking at the baby. I was like, and she's like, she's 8 years old now. And I was like, man, I don't know, man. So I was like, tell me more. Who is this person? Who starts telling me about the story about a place that I used to say I flew her out to, and we would go there, and I would fly her out and put her up, and we would do what we did. I'm like, no, I don't fly people out like that. Like, so like, this is a bold-faced lie. I looked at the picture, never saw this woman in my entire life. It was just a lie, but like, it was a real rumor that was going around. Like, I had a fucking stray baby out here, dog. That shit crazy. All my stray babies are accounted for.
This was recent that this happened?
Nah, I'm talking 2-3 weeks ago, dog.
Oh my god! I thought this was a few years ago.
Nah, I was like, bro, and in the time frame of when the baby would have been born, I was going through something relationship wise, where I was trying to be good, and so I know I didn't do any kind of travels to where this woman said I was going, and I hadn't been to that place that this woman said I was since 2009. So there's no way that I was there.
So a 13-year-old on the table.
Yeah, maybe. For sure. But like, to have somebody tell you, dog, that you got a stray baby and there's a story behind it is probably one of the scariest shits that you could probably, because I was reckless in my younger years. Like, I was really reckless. I'm not there now though. I love right now. Like, I am a lover right now.
Well, yeah, your Instagram stories this weekend were, and I mean this seriously, adorable.
I'm saying, by the way, your pictures with your wife, also adorable, my brother.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I feel like we should normalize that as men and talk about how inspiring it is to see faithful men trying to do the right things, fighting evil. You know what I mean?
1000%. As an evil world we live in. Evil world. What stage of that conversation, and it could be very early, surprising, me and Big T do not get these allegations lobbied. I don't want to speak for Big T. I'm just assuming.
No, you're correct. Yeah.
What stage of your thought process, as bad as it is to say, does paternity test come up?
If I recognized the woman, I'm saying okay. Even then, I'm still not thinking paternity test. I'm having a conversation with her, right? And depending on how that conversation goes, then I'm doing paternity test. Okay. Because another big factor is, okay, if she knows what I do for a living, why am I just not here? Why have you never pressed me for child support? You know what I mean? It just doesn't make any sense. And so when she gave me the full story, I hadn't been to that city since 2010. There's just no way not. But that's a motherfucking woo.
Stressful.
That's a woo, boy. I thought I was not expecting that. I
love how recent it was. Fun.
It just happened. Man, that's not one you just lightly gloss over in a conversation. That's a conversation stopper. We had to stop what we was talking about, and we had to address the situation.
Did the person who brought it up to you not realize that? They just kind of mentioned it casually?
No, they believed it because the child favors me. Fairly light skin, very similar nose, right? I could see it, maybe.
I feel like you're
and
saying
so they
things that a
believed it.
lawyer would tell you not to say.
Nah, fuck that shit. Nah. It's funny.
I had been there. I mean, not when she said, but yeah, it looks like me a little bit.
I said it's very funny. I do agree that is a funny joke. But in all honesty, like I have not. Look, now you're really feeling like I'm guilty of shit.
You had, I mean, Big T's not wrong. You've said a couple of things circumstantially.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was listening to myself now. I definitely sound like guilty as fuck. But it's where's the Bible and Buzz Aldrin? Now put it.
You're gonna have to knock out anyone who accused.
Nah, like I said, man, all my stray babies accounted for, man. I got enough headaches.
I was gonna say, you were just talking about how much you spent on Christmas this year. You weren't even factoring in another person to next year's splurge.
I mean, I had a good pandemic, man. I'm not gonna lie. Some things when I was a capitalist fell through, and I made a lot of money during the pandemic. But
Big
I'm
T's
cool.
just itching to say something.
I mean, listen, he's the first socialist I met that got to make $40 million. So more power to him.
That's not true either. But
Yes.
I'm also not a socialist.
That I've met, communist, whatever.
There's a difference, dog.
Well, socialism is the economic wing of communism.
Explain how.
Oh boy.
Look, we were having such a great time
I
talking about your may or may not be illegitimate children. It was a ball.
It was a ball. Now we gotta dive into economic
Now Big T's
theory
got to
discourse.
unload the clip.
Yeah, there's a dude who went viral last week, who's a quote unquote socialist who bought was it a Porsche?
Oh yeah,
Oh,
it's
Hassan.
no,
Hassan.
it's the guy who said he would want to come on
Hassan.
this show.
Yeah,
Yeah.
people were
Oh,
killing
that's him.
He's like one of the biggest leftist stringers
Hassan?
that there is.
Mhm.
He's the biggest one actually. Yeah.
Oh
that's the
shit, we
homie.
should have him on
But-
now.
I really want to have him on.
We can't get him on like at the second, but I'm sure he'll come
No,
on.
no,
I'm positive.
He said on one of his things that he wanted to come on the show.
Yeah, he'll definitely come on. But
He mentioned Arian, PFT, and the right wing guy that they have on the show.
Yep.
Yeah,
That
Billy.
would be. No, I don't understand that critique, and maybe you can enlighten me, Big T. I don't understand that critique when they see people who advocate for socialism make money. I'm so confused as to that critique.
I mean,
Unless you don't share that,
what do you mean?
do you? Unless you agree that under socialist policies you can make money. But if you agree to that, then
I'm saying it's. Well, you have advocated for a society where money just doesn't exist at all.
yes, that's communism. Yes,
Right, but
that's,
you have,
But that's
like-
my utopia. That's my utopia.
Yeah, but you live an
Which-
awesome life because you got to make a shit ton of money because the market dictated that you should make a shit ton of money.
Right, but that's not what socialism is. That's what I don't understand. Like, how are they at odds? You making money and wanting.
Well, you directly make
Wanting
money
workers-
from an industry that many people are like, these people shouldn't make money at all. Like, all that money should go to teachers and doctors and stuff. Why do we pay people to play sports? Well, because the market dictates that people want to watch that and they'll pay for it. So, like, you made money doing maybe the most, like, capitalistic industry we have.
So, what is your working definition of capitalism? Maybe that's our disconnect. Because I don't.
Letting the market decide what's worthwhile and what's not.
That's not necessarily true within the
No,
NFL.
But it's also not.
What do
It's not beholden to capitalism. Capitalism's basic definition. It's a part of it, but capitalism's basic definition is the private ownership of things. And socialists say this is why I'm not a socialist. They believe in markets, right? But they also believe that workers should own the means of productions with ownership, not the ownership hoarding it. And so you're not at odds making money in a free market and being a socialist. Those are not conflicting ideas.
Okay.
I feel like you just said okay, but you don't agree.
Yeah, I mean, yes, you're correct.
This is why no NASA
where am I-
scientist should waste their time explaining space to you, because you just say okay and you still don't believe them.
No, yeah, that's correct. Listen, you say it's 139 million kilometers away. Good for you, pal. I'm glad that's the case. Sure.
It's not to me though.
Why do the Browns get to spend the same amount as the Patriots?
Oh,
well, that's a league rule to promote
Sure.
parity.
Sure, but it's not like it's not the most capitalist way to look at the
I mean,
NFL.
in baseball, we don't do that. In baseball, whoa, what just happened?
Yeah, that was the light dim sometimes when there's not any movement. You got to get up and wave your arms.
You hit
Might be in the
the.
middle
I
of the
know
room.
Mad Dog hit the. No, it has nothing. She hit the thing on the side.
Well, either way, I got to make you
It's
do
on
that.
the
All right,
control.
whatever.
Just keep going.
Only people you have to watch the show on YouTube to understand. Anyway,
Yeah, baseball does have that. And
yeah, and
it's
people,
a big point of contention.
yeah, people don't like it.
No.
I see both. Like teams. There are baseball teams like the Oakland A's have no money and they're consistently pretty good. The Tampa Bay Rays have no money. They're consistently
But
very
that's
good.
not. The A's do have money. It's a different discussion. They do have money. They refuse to spend it.
Okay, sure. How much you have, whatever. They don't spend money similarly to the Rays, and
Right.
both teams are pretty good because they're run efficiently. Yeah, I don't really care one way or the other if you use a salary cap or not.
Speaking of salary caps,
There should be a salary floor.
speaking of professional sports, this just in:
Yeah.
MLB stops testing players for steroids.
What?
What?
I just got a thing from ESPN.
Hang on, we got to
How are
make sure
they-
we're not getting billied right now.
How are
It's
they
from
coming up-
ESPN.
That doesn't mean anything. They said Deflategate happened.
Major League Baseball stops testing players for steroids after nearly 20 years from the AP.
Yeah, it is from the Associated Press. I'm curious what. Oh, during the lockout.
And
Not-
the
Due to
period.
the expiration of the agreement. So right this second
Yes.
they can't toss it.
Oh, got it.
and the Texans hired Lovey.
Oh,
Yeah,
they
that's
did.
wild.
Arian, thoughts?
About
Just in another world, the Texans hired Lovie Smith. Do you know
I
him at
don't.
all?
I met him, but I don't know him. I think he's defensive minded coach. But I don't know enough about Levy. I don't know. I'm glad he's black though. I'm rooting for him.
I saw a stat. He hasn't had a winning season since 2012, and 5 of those seasons were.
Did Eric Bieniemy fuck Roger Goodell's daughter or something, dog? Why can't this man get a head coaching job?
He barely gets interviews, let alone jobs. Like he
That
got
guy
the interview
has-
with the Saints. Was that it? He got the
That
Saints.
guy
interview?
had dirt on it. That guy had dirt
Well,
on
like
my
a
man.
year or
What's
two ago,
going
he
on?
had a bunch of interviews and didn't get it. I didn't feel like I heard about him getting interviewed at all this year.
I know he got 1. I think it was the Saints, but that was it. Last year I don't remember hearing much. Yeah, it's strange.
I don't know.
Have we talked Flores on here at all? Not that I want to open that up 3 hours into the show, but have we talked Flores on here at all?
I don't think
I
so.
don't even know who Flores is.
Brian Flores.
Oh, we
suing
gotta-
NFL
Oh, the
operations.
dude, the head coach.
Yeah.
Nah, we haven't talked about. Yeah, that's a weak.
That's who Lovie Smith beat out for this job, according to sources. They were the last 2.
Really?
finalists. I don't understand what world would judge Lovie Smith 2022 as the better coach than Brian Flores. I really don't.
That's interesting. I don't know, man, but I did see that. That shit that Roger Goodell typed up to everybody. Did you see that shit?
The immediate denial or the
No, it was just like we've been looking over like the data and about the head coaching situation and kind of disappointed, like that kind of shit. Like, what are you talking about, dog? Like, what? Yo, NFL is just so full of shit, dog. The whole from the top down, man. It's just they just all about optics. All they care about is how it looks. They don't give a fuck about actually improving anything. All they give a fuck about is how it looks, dog. And that's why I be pressuring like these young cats publicly. Put pressure on these dudes and these old fucks that own this shit to give lifetime health care to these athletes, bro. Like, until there's public pressure, it's not gonna happen.
No.
Do you believe, Arian, do you believe what he said about being offered bonuses to lose?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I don't
Really?
know if it happened, but I believe him. That shit happened with the Cavs and LeBron. They
tanking?
Yeah, they threw. Tanking is
course.
known. They throw to get players.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
not just
Nobody's
an NFL
denying
thing.
that tanking is real, but paying a coach to lose. Like, written out explicit, lose this game, you'll get $100,000.
Do I believe him? I am agnostic until he provides the evidence for it. But it doesn't surprise me if that was true. Like, I don't think that's an outlandish claim. I wouldn't be like, yo, you got to show. It's like, I could see that happening. Yeah. But I don't give a fuck if it happened or not. I don't think I care enough about it. But I to say I believe him, maybe I should retract that. It's not that I believe him. It's that, like, I definitely could see that being the case. I've seen it in sports before. It's known. I don't know if that's true. Who knows? But it's not out of the realm of possibility to some of the shit that I've seen. Like, it's weird, man, with kind of money, man. Did you dig?
Yeah, for sure.
All right, man. Unless y'all got something else about the moon or racism.
Do we think the moon's racist? Arian thoughts.
We really covered the gambit today.
I thought that was a good episode, man. Fuck PFT. And fuck Billy for this road trip that they did.
I mean, they could have just simply gambled better. They would have been able to fly.
Why are they going there? I don't understand. Is it just for the content? They wanted to drive there, or is it?
Yeah.
So at the beginning of the year on Pardon My Take, they had a gambling contest amongst the four of them on the show. And if you came in, was it second and fourth?
Correct. Yeah, I believe so.
If you came in second and fourth, you had to drive to LA for the Super Bowl.
And PFT tanked, so he would go.
Did somebody pay him to tank?
Jury is out.
But dope, man. Well, shit. If we don't got anything else, man, that'll do it for today's episode. Catch us back for the nano dosing. Where I don't know if are the boys gonna be back or no.
No,
they're there all week.
Okay, cool. So we just gonna do the heist of this show, and we'll think about letting them back on. All right, man. Appreciate the love, support, like, subscribe, all of that jazz. Much love from our end of the world to yours. Peace.